morning, everybody. We're starting a bit early today because the trial, I guess, is not going to start till 9:30 today. That's okay. I'm all by myself right now. Hank's not feeling well, and I haven't heard from Phil yet. So we're going to wait it out and see where Phil is today. He could have been taken by a tornado, or he could have been taken by a neighbor, or you never know with Phil. He's living out there in the wild Midwest. So we will give updates on Phil when we get them. Today we have voir dire hearings all day. That's why they're having a late start. I just saw it like about 10 seconds before we went on the air. Otherwise, I would have changed this broadcast time. However, since we've advertised it for 8:55, we're going to keep with it. We do have the crazy drunk girl that we started yesterday but never finished, so we'll probably watch that before it starts today. And we just received word that Chili DeCastro somehow got another day off his sentence. He'll be released now on July 31st instead of August 1st. So he had previously said that he would be getting out in on the 27th of July. So maybe he's working it down. I don't know. The newspaper just went out everywhere. Our top stories are that DMA somehow won the GoFundMe title last night. He stayed home instead of talking about porn at the Inglewood City Council meeting. Regan Benson did not, though. She was at the City Council meeting now with a new version of the story from Saturday of helping the man who had heat exhaustion. She now claims that it is some sort of conspiracy against her by the uh, by the dispatchers in Inglewood to keep her from getting services because I guess all the dispatchers are now in love with Frauditor Troll, a Canadian, of course. Chili himself is supposed to be in court today in the Blue Bacon case. Blue Bacon's attorney filed something yesterday saying he wouldn't be there, but his standby attorney would be. They're seeking sanctions against Chili, more sanctions, in fact, because Chili did not respond to the last two batches of sanctions yet. He hasn't paid a dime, and he also hasn't sat for his deposition. So they're asking the judge for another $4,500 and to make Chili sit for a deposition, as Chili hasn't officially told anyone where he is right now, and that would be he's sitting in the Las Vegas or in the Clark County Detention Center, and he never updated the court. So, yeah, it's going to be a long one for Chili today. We're also waiting for word as everyone's favorite idiot, Jeremy DeWitt, is supposed to be on trial. Oh, I think the trial started about half an hour ago. We have reports that it isn't going to happen. That's been the rumor of the weekend. We'll see if that happens. I'll report it live as soon as we know anything. And we also have, let's see what else today. Chili DeWitt. Remember, we're having our normal newscast tonight at 6:30. Then we will not be here tomorrow because the Juneteenth holiday. We will, however, be having our normal newscast at 6:30, 5:30 where it counts, 4:30 Mountain, and 3:30 on the West Coast tomorrow night, followed by at 8 o'clock our Thursday panel on a Wednesday. Yeah, at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 5 o'clock. So, yes, we'll be having our panel tomorrow night instead of Thursday night. We probably should just donate or rename it the Anytime at All When We Feel About It panel. Not sure about that, but things should get back to normal or start to be normal as the Karen Reed murder trial is expected to wrap up in the next couple of weeks. The prosecution are in. Parsons, no, you've been replaced as everyone's favorite idiot. I'm sorry. But Jeremy DeWitt is everyone's favorite idiot right now until he's off the air. Anyway, let's jump into Drunk Girl while we can finish it before court starts. So let me get that up here. Remember, you can always donate as the stream elements is linked at the top of the side chat. We are now, due to requests, we are now taking, I think we do credit cards now on top of PayPal if you'd like to tip us for our work. It's not required, it's just a nice thing to do. And let's see what screen this is on. Stop screen, present, and share screen. And which one was it? Insane video. There we go. Okay, warning everyone. This girl is, remember, this is the same one we started yesterday during the lunch break. This is the girl who looks like chili on crack with her white lips, and she's screaming quite a bit. So headphone warning as we get back into this one.
Like a big man.
Her eyes are pinpoint.
That's what makes you feel like a big man, huh, sir? Huh, sir? You're gonna look away from me and ignore the truth, because that's not what makes you all feel like a big man. Huh? It makes you all feel like a big man holding me down right now. Makes you feel like a big man holding me down, huh? With your fat little pig ass. With your fat little pig
Morning,
ass.
P-Docs.
You look like a damn pig.
Court doesn't start till 9:30 today.
What do y'all help? What did you guys help? Huh? What did you help? What did you f***ing help? Nothing. You all got shit to say. Cause you ain't help nothing. You're a bitch. You like holding girls down. You like holding your wife down like this, huh? You like holding your wife down like this and making her feel like she's a little girl, huh?
Yep,
Yeah.
P-Docs, who just announced the
I'm
chili
a
thing
maniac,
based on your reporting.
This girl in the office.
Are you going to ride it, or are you want to follow up with the car?
Hey guys, I hope you all live, but the fact
Let's
that
get your car parked.
Get in your head.
Yeah.
We'll take care of that. Just give us your keys. We'll search the car, and we'll inventory and tow it.
Take all of it.
Who did these come from? My car or your car? Okay.
He was trying.
I do OBI, resist heavy assault.
You guys, these assholes just track me and
Traffic
make me like a piece of shit.
She's OBI.
Like my boyfriend
OBI.
did when I grabbed him.
Marijuana in the car.
And you guys don't f***ing dare uncuff me. Uncuff me. This feels painful. Like this feels painful. But the government doesn't give a f***.
Chris, does that mark on my eye where she kicked me or not? Or is it good?
Uncuff.
Ready?
Right here.
It looks like you. Looks like you got a little bump.
Yeah, she hit me good. So
Like my boyfriend did when I grabbed him and said stop. And you guys don't f***ing dare uncuff me. Uncuff me. This feels painful. Like this feels painful. But the government doesn't give a f***.
Sure, because Willie's not fast, so like if you get
Okay, what was that? The government doesn't care about her, so it's painful? Oh, Lord. Drugs are bad, kids. Drugs are bad.
Alright.
Unhandcuff me! Unhandcuff me!
771, you have traffic.
I've already said 3 times. Oh,
How did she get
You know
up?
what you gonna do?
Do you guys have masks or something so she could stop trying to bite us? No.
I'll break that f***ing pinky.
You ain't gonna break it.
Grab it again. Grab it again. Grab my hand again, huh? Break my wrist, you bitch ass.
or something.
Oh, she tried to bite again.
You little bitch.
Stop.
You wanna kill me, huh? You wanna kill me? You wanna kill a 13-year-old little girl?
Relax.
You think you're a big man, huh? You think you're a big man? I was to kill a 13-year-old.
Relax.
You wanna choke me out, choke me out.
I'm not even
I hate
doing that.
you.
I'm
You're
trying to
choking
get
me
you
out.
biting
You're
us.
choking me out.
Strap that seatbelt
My
on.
mouth is f***ing shut, you bitch ass motherfucker. Ah!
You're not biting us. Just relax.
Get off me out! Ah!
I know.
Watch your mouth. Get in that. Get in that. I don't know. We don't have one.
I can't breathe!
Relax. You need to calm down. What's that?
Stop touching my head, and I'll get
Janice, no, she's 19. She's not 13. She's an adult.
him down. Stop touching my head, and I'll calm down.
All right,
Drop
we
it.
will. Calm down.
Stop
Calm
touching
down.
me. My head hurts,
Calm down.
sir.
I
My head
gotta
hurts
go into the
just because of you.
hospital.
You're so abusive.
Sophie.
My name is Sylvia, you bitch.
Okay, so.
You f***ing bitch.
Okay.
You f***ing bitch. I want to go to the hospital ASAP because I want these handcuffs taken off.
Then you need to
I want
calm
these handcuffs
down.
taken off. Get the
You need
f*** off
calm
of me.
down.
The way that you think it's okay to touch a woman in her face like that? I bet you touch your wife like that.
I think you need to
I
calm
bet you touch
down.
your wife like that.
I mean, you get on that side, like, try and get a line in her.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you.
You think it's okay?
No, you should calm down.
You think it's okay that he just touched me like that woman?
No, I don't.
You don't think it's
I
okay?
need you to.
But you think it's okay to watch him touch me like that
What are they
woman?
gonna do to
You
her?
think it's okay to watch him touch me like that? Why did the police officers act like this woman?
I don't know.
Give it a sec. You go right
Woman,
now.
please! Please,
Take
I don't
it
have
for
you, woman, to
just
my
in
right.
case,
Tell me
'cause-
this isn't okay. Please! Why do they f***ing act like this? They try to destroy your
I need a
life.
medic. I called 3 times. Nobody answered me. I apologize. I'm a little pissed off.
She's a
Sorry.
little bit pissed off because I keep yelling at her because you guys
in
keep
there.
beating the f*** out of me when I'm screaming at this bitch and she's the only one helping me.
All right, well,
This woman is the only one f***ing helping me, so you have to give her.
For those joining, the hearing is not set for 9:30 today. I didn't see it until about 30 seconds before we went on air. I would have delayed us. We are just catching up on the drunk girl segment we started yesterday but never finished. Again, warning, the lady is quite loud in this, so headphone warning. Or speaker warning, in fact, because she's real loud. Especially for what time? It's 9:08 in the morning here. The other news, as P-Docs has reported a couple of times now, Chili got another day off his sentence and will be out on July 31st. So let's go back to the drunk girl, and then we'll catch up after that.
A good recommendation because you just beat me. You beat me. You beat me.
Hold
you.
Hold on a minute.
Ah, shit, City. You. You.
Perfect.
I would talk to
Just
this woman
continue
only.
to do
She's the
that,
only one who's been respectful to me.
we're from the fire
And this
department. We're trying to
orderly.
help you.
Orderly.
This isn't helping anything.
Please talk.
Ready?
Why do these men treat me like this?
I don't know.
Why do they treat me like this? Please give me a hug. Like,
I can give you a hug.
Please shouldn't treat me like this.
I need you to just.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to need some help.
This is f***ing wrong.
Really, just
They're gonna
hold on.
put me to sleep
The
now.
enemy crew is
You know,
holding her.
down.
It's so wrong how they treat women in this world. It's so wrong, and they think this is all okay. And you know I'm gonna be the one getting charged with this shit
Hang out
after.
for a minute.
You know that shit.
I need you to calm
You know
down.
it's wrong.
So just
You know it's
down.
wrong. You know it's wrong when they
Hold
treat
on.
women in this world.
Willie,
You know it's
hold
wrong.
on.
Please, man.
I just need you to calm down, okay?
Willie's gonna attempt to start an IV. She's having absolutely no with it.
He's with the fire department, and so is he.
Okay, this should be interesting. They're going to try to run an IV.
He tried to choke me out.
And I got
Here's what we're trying
Hold on.
Here's what we're trying to do right now. Paramedic over here wants to start an IV in your arm. He wants to give you some.
Sophia.
Sorry, I'm gonna scream because it hurts.
It's fine, it hurts.
Alright, he got it in there, okay?
It's already in.
But why did the
So-
policeman just try to take me out? And
I
you guys are
can't
gonna
speak for the
Then
police
none of them are here.
officer.
I wasn't even here,
We're-
okay?
You saw him just try to take me out in front of you, ma'am.
We're all
You
firing.
saw him just try to take me out in front of you. It was fucking, which one was it? He's gone now, huh? He's gone now.
Oh,
They're on
man.
fire.
Yeah, he's gone. The policeman's gone. Can everybody just say police?
No, not right now.
He just started choking me out.
Okay.
It's not fucking okay.
We're taking care of you right now. We're not worried about anything else. Okay?
Are the policemen gone?
Yes.
Okay, got a good
What do
line.
we need at this time?
Thanks, Mark.
Transport by myself, and I said no. I called 3 times. Nobody
So is
Some of the
he.
girls from Madison.
Oh, good lord.
How do they-
Bruno.
Yes.
It's because the men want to get away from me. The men want to get away from me. That man just blew me out of my
Hey,
Again, we're in search of a young priest and an old priest to come to the ambulance. Anyone volunteering?
I need to not think the world is this bad and men are just trying to fucking beat me. Police officers get a kick off of this job. You did too, don't you?
We were going towards the camera.
thank you.
Can you take this mask so I can breathe?
You want to be in the back room, sir? What is
Sir.
I want somebody else back.
Sir, what's your name? Can you?
My name?
Yeah.
My name's Nick.
Nick.
Yep.
I like that, Nick. My name's Sylvia.
Good to meet
Can you
you.
pull this down so we can get that in my mouth?
What's up? We need to keep it up right now because
Are you not going to bite anybody? Are you going to stop biting?
How much you give me? 2 milligrams?
You got 2 milligrams and 1 ml. There's 2.5 mLs.
Okay, I'm
And
gonna
then
start
you're
after
wearing
one.
me down now like I'm a dog or something. 'Cause the man
You're
was
wore
beating-
out. You're fighting pretty good.
The man was beating me, that police officer.
You're Ativan. You're
You
giving
know you
Ativan.
choked me, right, ma'am? You f***ing seen him choke me.
Hey,
Calm down.
You f***ing seen him choke me and you're gonna put me down like I'm a dog now. I'm a girl just like you, woman.
You are.
I'm a girl just like you, woman. You know the way these police are treating us ain't right. You know it ain't right. Running against you know, because you're around a bunch of men right
Can
now.
you flush, please?
well, unfortunately, we're not here to argue. Most of us weren't even here when whatever happened. So we're just trying to our focus right now is you and not what already happened.
On sidebars, technically, I don't think they're actually going to have sidebars because the jury's not there today. These are just motion hearings, and voir dire. So it's probably not going to have sidebars. We can get them in because Parson says 10 and Timo says 15. But yeah. And good morning, whoever's over on Facebook. Hi, Fonda. Thank you for joining us today. And if I start the robot, let me know, because my internet's being wonky all of a sudden. Oh, that's why OneDrive is uploading.
What about me? You're not gonna
She
help
had it in
me.
there.
we're gonna get you to the hospital.
We're
George is
You're in
gonna
the
take my license and say that I was on drugs.
I don't have anything to do with your license. We're just gonna we're trying to get you to the hospital.
These these men out of here. 8 men.
Can I get Mom's phone number to get the dog?
All these men get out of here. Yeah, 608-1945. Call my grandma and tell her to go get the dog before I fall asleep. Send me because I put so many drugs in me right now. 608-45. Say Grandma Sarah, come to this and get my dog.
Flying blue on me.
Get my dog.
Okay, you got Ativan on board.
Yeah, I got Ativan on board. Which
What the fuck is out of this? That you're putting in me?
They'll give you
Would you
some
say that to me,
Ativan to
sir?
help you.
Did you say that to me?
He was talking to me. We're just communicating.
Talking to me about what drugs you're putting inside of me.
I put you.
Huh?
I gave you some
He gave
Inside
you
of another
Ativan to help
human
you
being?
relax a little bit.
You guys are so wrong because you just tried to fucking choke me. That cop just choked me and pulled me out of the car and choked me. You think that ain't wrong?
What's your name again?
Sir, look at me and have a conversation.
I wasn't there.
Wrong.
Yeah.
I wasn't
All I
there.
did was drive around the parking
Okay,
lot.
I
I
wasn't
stopped
there.
and I was trying to get my way home.
Can I
Her
ask you-
papers over there somewhere.
can I ask you your name again?
Good morning, Vlad. Did you enjoy that new round of pictures?
But you guys aren't gonna ask what's
Sylvia.
wrong with the fact that that cop told me out. You guys aren't gonna say that's wrong because that's your boy, right?
No, because we're here for medical reasons. We're not here for anything else.
You just pulled me out of the car and choked me in front of you.
So what we need to do,
Need some damn water, get this thing off my damn mouth so I can cough.
Problem is,
I need to
what
move
that
her
is,
hands
she's-
to her front.
I get
before
that. I understand that, but just should not do the seatbelts. That's.
She can stay in handcuffs as long as a police officer rides in with us, but they can't be behind her.
Get me out of these damn straps, I can't breathe.
Well, I'll need assistance because she's gonna fight us.
Yeah, that's
I'm
fine.
not gonna fight nobody, bro. I will sit here with this woman alone. Please, ma'am. I won't fight anybody. I just don't want these men around me. They've abused me.
Vlad, it wasn't me. It was a CFR 001 person on the jet ski.
Okay, so I need you to relax a little bit. We're gonna move your hands from your back to your front. But I need you to be calm about it. Okay?
Do we want to?
We're gonna undo your handcuffs.
You don't think she's skinny enough?
Okay.
Come on. Okay.
Please, I will go off. Please just give me.
We're gonna get you. We're getting you taken care of right now.
I need to spit.
7219 Memory Lane in Lane. Unit is requesting you respond for two aggressive pit bulls attacking another dog.
This just gotta come out.
Ow, 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 ow.
Okay, hold on. We're getting it.
It's not gonna move my wrist. It hurts to move it.
So you want to sit up?
Pull your other hand out. There you go.
There we go.
Lay back. Get this uncle.
Can we slide her up a little bit?
Please get this uncle up, sir. Please get it. No, the feeder.
Well, hold on. We're going to do in front. We're not done cuffing them.
Okay, I can't scoot up without putting my hand here.
Here,
Move
put
my
your hand
bottom.
right there.
Hold on, just scooting up.
Okay.
Hold
Hold
on
on.
a minute.
You got it?
There you go.
There you go. More comfortable now? Now you can, I need you to sit back and relax while we do that.
I had to spit.
Okay, that's fine.
So bad, I needed some
That's
fucking
fine.
water.
That's not okay.
Yep, that's not okay.
We have a.
You're not okay treating a woman like this right now.
Here, double lock these.
You think it's okay to treat a woman like this, sir, huh?
Double lock it.
You think it's okay to treat a f***ing woman like this, huh?
How's that? Feel it? Make sure they're good.
Got my fingers in there.
All right, good.
You f***ing bitches. Get me in JDC ASAP. Give me the f***ing assholes.
How old are you?
Get the f*** off of me! How old am I to know that a man shouldn't treat a woman like this? I could be 10 years old and know that a man shouldn't treat a woman like this. You guys are awful men. You guys are awful
Get
men.
off my fingers.
Nigga, no. Get off my finger. Get off my finger. Get off my finger. Who are you to touch me? As a human being, who are you to touch me and grab my arm and make it break like that? Why is he grabbing me? Let him grab me. Let go of me.
Here, my hands.
Let go of me. Let go of me.
My hands. My hands.
Vlad, she knows how to change her transmission? Oh, that's a keeper. Timo, they had to move the cuffs from behind her back to the front in order to get the IV in. So, yeah, she's fighting again. It's almost over.
Okay.
You can't have been treating me like this, man.
Okay. You got my hands, okay?
Literally every time she sees
All right? Still got my hands.
I can't breathe.
It's like a golf
I can't
ball.
breathe.
You have to leave it on
Get this cord off my nose.
I would cuff her to each side of the cot.
Okay. You take that one.
So you're breathing.
I can't feel my wrist. They're taking this.
They have stuff on board. It shouldn't be too much longer.
Oh, you got relax your legs.
No, they did something.
No, that's the same thing.
It's not the same thing. Why are my legs like this? Do I have to sit like a sprayer? Do I have to sit like a sprayer so it's like a dick sheet or something?
Okay.
Yeah, put them straight,
like
bitch.
that.
So you can't rate me.
Lily, I need you to listen a little bit.
Yeah, because you guys just want to rate. You awful men. All these men want to do is awful man. All they want to do is see him screwed up like this. You guys like it.
Do you want to slide up more?
Yeah, I want all the men out of here because all they want to do is they want to see us strapped up like this. They want to see us
Really good
strapped up
job.
like this. I hate these f***ing men. Get them the fuck out of here.
Shut the door.
Shut the f***ing door, you f***ing
Good?
You look like you look like I'm treating all of you. You look like a dick. You look like
You could be mad at me, but I'm glad you're okay. I was worried you were going to drive off.
you just want to pull me over.
No.
Nope, he's the one that's helping you.
Yep. Yeah, I hear you didn't like that other one.
4025, go ahead.
40-25.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't his intent. He didn't want to hurt you. I'm sure he's trying to protect you, really. Dealing with a lot right now.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, I understand that. I don't know what you're going through or anything.
Okay, she was indicted by a grand jury on 2 felony counts of assault on a police officer, a misdemeanor count of resisting arrest, and misdemeanor count of operating a vehicle under the influence.
But trust me, things can get better. Okay? Don't let this be the end all, you know? Definitely have better days.
People say like court and all this sucks. Sometimes I've gotten really good like information from.
Yeah. Have you been to court for anything?
She pled guilty to an amended charge of misdemeanor assault. She also pled guilty to the misdemeanor resisting arrest and OVI charge. Both felony counts were dismissed.
Did you go to court for something or something? Yeah. Nothing like this, right? I hope. No.
What?
Something like this, or like criminal stuff, or?
I was just smoking weed.
Oh, okay. That's not court.
Yeah, in the juvenile court, but.
Yeah.
After completing a drug treatment program, she was sentenced to probation. She was also assessed fines and court costs totaling $1,610.50.
Well, you know what the nice thing is about life? All you gotta do is choose to change it. You can. So, tomorrow's a new day. You make the choice. You can change. Do whatever you want. You know? One day I could be a police officer. If I decide I want to change, I can go do something else. You know? It's not... Every day's a new day. Don't look at the past. Look at the future. Right?
It's really true.
So, that's a good thing about life. You know, there is always another day.
Okay, folks. They have not started yet at the trial. They're supposed to start in about 7 minutes. We've got a lot going on today. Like I said, Jeremy DeWitt is supposed to be in court right now in Florida. Once we get reports in, we will start sharing what happened today. Jose Chile de Castro is also supposed to be in court today in his case versus Kate Peter, Team Skeptic, Daniel Clement, and Blue Bacon. It's a hearing to go over the fact that Chile has not paid either round of sanctions against him. I believe it was first round was $1,600, second round was $4,500, and he was supposed to pay up by now. He has also not stipulated to a deposition, and he has not shared the discovery that he's supposed to. Problem here, of course, is Chile's in jail, and Chile never bothered to tell the California court where he is. Even if Blue Bacon may know, it's up to Chile to tell the court where he is. And Chile has not done that, even though he did send in his permanent address as the jail facility. He didn't give the instructions on how to actually contact him, his prisoner number, etc., etc., etc. So that hearing is today. Blue Bacon's lawyer is not supposed to be there, but a alternative or a backup lawyer is supposed to be there for him. So we may get some sort of judgment today, and there may even just be a written judgment by the court. As soon as we get those docs, we will share those docs. In other news, DMA won the GoFundMe crown last night. And it sounds like we're about to go live with the Karen Reed case, so let me set that up and we'll go live when we can. Share screen and false alarm. I heard the audio start, but then they didn't go to it. Anyway, so yeah, instead of going to the Inglewood City Council meeting to talk about porn and how he needs to view it in public in the library, he stayed home and live streamed. Of course, he took the live stream down before anyone could actually watch it to see what he was saying, but somehow that live stream drummed up $55 in donations today, as you'll see over in the paper. Paper went up about an hour ago. Yeah, good morning, Griffey. Griffey, we're starting late today. We just watched the insane girl, rest of that footage of the insane girl who was fighting police yesterday. And our other news that we have in the paper this morning, Regan Benson was Regan Benson last night. And yes, Parsons, you helped us keep that article. Remember, if you also want to donate, we do have the stream elements at the top of every feed, or it's pinned to the top of this chat today. You can torture me any way you feel like. I may do stuff on the air. Who knows? I'm by myself today. As haven't heard from Phil, and Hank is out sick. He's going to get some rest, and he may join us a little bit later. Right now, we are waiting for the Karen Reed murder trial to start. Today is a day of motions, I believe, and voir dire. These are witnesses from the defense who they should have had some information on and who the defense supposedly has never even interviewed at this point. They're going to take today just to do that outside of the jury to see if these experts will even be allowed in the case. From our scheduling that we've been told, or rumored scheduling, looks like the prosecution will wrap up on Friday, possibly Monday. Depends on how things go on Thursday. Thursday's a full day, Friday's a half day, and then the defense will get the case next week. Defense has said they only need 3 days, so there's a very real possibility that this may be going to the jury by the end of next week. And then what will we do? I don't know. We'll be on jury watch for a while, I guess. We haven't discussed going to the jury yet, so we'll get that once we have a plan between the three of us. Really, there's not a lot more going on today, except for Regan Benson at the Inglewood City Council meeting. She went a little bit nutso last night, just started lying. As she was exiting the City Council hall, she looked at the police chief. And she went up to the police chief, and she was about to talk to the police chief when he shushed her, because he was trying to listen to the meeting that was still going on. This was apparently starting shit with her, so she stood by the man for half an hour recording him silently, not expressing anything to him, while typing insults to her chat room and saying that he's about to get up and hit her or attack her or whatever. It was strange because you can see he's just sitting there watching the meeting, and she's claiming that he's going to attack her, he's going to be violent, and all this stuff. And then she just walks away from him. She doesn't even talk to him or stay till the end of the meeting. She said she had a better offer and she's going to go interview somebody. But it was just bizarre. She would stand there like that for half an hour last night. Again, more details in the paper that just came out. You'll see it everywhere, including ReallyCoolSite.org. And again, we're waiting for the court to start any minute now. They had a delayed start because it's a voir dire hearing most of the day, and they may have some motions to go over. I don't think this is going to go all the way to 4:30 today. I would hope not, since I have nothing recorded for the newscast tonight. So instead of making you suffer through me reading things live, I would rather have it pre-recorded so at least you can understand me. I don't know. I did have a funny incident the other day when my grandnephew was over here, 6 years old, and he got to watch Uncle as he's trying to read the news into the microphone. It was pretty funny. He was just looking at me while playing Fortnite and going, "Are you okay? Why are you speaking that way? What's wrong with your voice?" So, yeah. 6-year-olds. Yeah. Griffey, I don't think that it will. Griffey's asking, what are the chances that the lawsuit against Kate Peter, Team Skeptic, and the rest, including Blue Bacon, will be tossed today because of Chili's non-appearance? I don't think they'll actually toss it today. I think that if anything happens, it'll be considered, but would be the fourth or fifth hearing in a row that Chili has not shown up at. Chili hasn't even updated the court on where he is officially. While I'm sure Blue Bacon and his attorney may know something, right now they have no official details. because it's Chili's responsibility to update the court as to his whereabouts. And right now, he hasn't done crap. He did give the court address for his new home address, but he didn't give anything like his prisoner number or what building he's in or anything like that, which he should have done by now. Chili himself is, I mean, he's not doing himself any favors in this, but then again, he has been non-compliant this whole time. It is his purpose in this trial to delay things as much as possible. That's why he's not participating in discovery. That's why he's filing nonsense motions. That's why he's trying to keep things going for as much as possible. So today, there is a request to give summary judgment if Chili does not show cause by a certain point, but who knows what's going to happen right now. Chili is set to be out, according to PDocs, who stopped by earlier. He got another day taken off his sentence. He'll be out by on July 31st now. Chili himself has been saying that he's out at the 27th of July. So if that's right, he'll have another couple of days taken off. So yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens. We had news last night, as reported in the paper, that Chili's city trial, Las Vegas city trial from the charges in February of this year, has also been delayed. The next pretrial hearing, which was scheduled for next week, now it looks like that's being moved to August 13th. That'll be after he's out of jail. And there's also been rumors that Chili's just going to skip town, so he won't show up at that one. That would be very bad for him. But it'll be, I mean, he's already paid for the lawyer in that one too, so we'll see if he fights it or if he's going to stay in Vegas or what. Shuggy, today's hearings had been scheduled for 9:30. I didn't see it, otherwise we would have started later. We will be seeing it because, yeah, here's Law and Crime, and Court TV also has the same sort of screen up. And just as we hear that, I hear them in my ear. We're hearing something for the court. And here we go.
Thank you. Maybe see the close down session.
22117, Commonwealth versus Karen Reed.
All right. Good morning, counsel. Ms. Reed, are all of the witnesses here, Mr. Jackson?
They are, Your Honor.
I'd like to hear from Dr. Russell first. Are you both prepared to?
Your Honor, I'm so sorry. I could not hear you.
I would like to hear from Dr. Russell first. Is that her name?
Dr. Russell, yes. The order would be, I would propose based on scheduling Dr. Russell, Dr. Wolf, Dr. Racer.
Okay, then that's good because that's the order I prefer. So, all right. Do you have a CV for her? Good morning. Morning, Tori. Do you have a CV I could look at for her, please?
Let me see if I got it in my notebook. I thought I did. Yes, I do.
Good morning.
And she has not written a report?
Good morning.
She's not.
Late start today and Hank's out sick.
All right, let's bring her in, please.
Your Honor,
Hank may
before
join
we
us
get
later if he's
started,
feeling
can I
better.
get an understanding? We started to say it at sidebar the other day, and you said you wanted to put that off to get to the witnesses. But I need a little bit of an understanding of what the court's expectations are. My understanding of voir dire, which this seems unusual in terms of the timing of it.
So the understanding of the voir dire is this is for the Commonwealth's motion to exclude this testimony. All right, that's what we're here for, the Rule 14 violation.
Is that the same with Dr. Wolf and Dr. Rachel?
Well, I thought that would help both of you. Commonwealth has nothing on that, and you say you haven't been able to even talk to them at all about this case.
That's correct.
So I want to find out if they have any credible, competent evidence to put forward. So we'll have a voir dire on them as well. But
So
for
that-
Dr. Russell, what we're doing here today is there's an alleged there appears to me to be a violation of the reciprocal discovery obligations of defense counsel regarding Dr. Russell. So let's hear from her today to see what the appropriate remedy is for this violation.
So my intention is to ask her so I have, the court understands my sort of guardrails. My intention is to ask her what her qualifications are, which is that's the basis for voir dire. And that's where I'm going to stop. I'm not intending to ask her what her opinions are, conclusions. I'm going to ask her if she's come to opinions and conclusions, but I don't want to have to examine her concerning her full opinions or full conclusions, what she's based those conclusions on. It's unfair. We've provided.
He's got none of this?
The prosecution, everything that we need to provide to them in terms of disclosure. They've got the equivalent of a report. They've got a summary of what she's going to testify to.
When was that provided? My order was 1 week from the start of trial, right?
But we didn't, Your Honor, in fairness, they didn't even finish their discovery 1 week before the start of trial. So it's a little unfair for us to be put on the stand.
1 week from the filing of the certificate of compliance.
Well, I don't know when I can't remember. My co-counsel indication is the day before trial.
Okay.
So during the course of, look, trial is a dynamic thing. During the course of the trial, I did not know who Dr. Marie Russell was at the time that they filed their certificate of compliance. We then attempted to, and did, give them the reciprocal discovery that we were obligated to do after they filed their certificate of compliance.
When?
Within 3 days of that. We had been giving them information prior to that, but at least within 3 days of that. We've continued, so the record's clear, we've continued to get additional discovery from the Commonwealth in notices of discovery throughout the trial. They have not finished. In fact, during the trial, they interviewed Jen McCabe, apparently, had a full interview with her. Lieutenant Tully took a report, dated the report, and then they held on to that report until after she testified. The interview, the report, and the completion of the report were all done before her testimony.
Do you need to call her again?
Your Honor, that's not my, and I think the court understands, that's not my point. My point is not I need to call Jennifer McCabe back. I've done the damage that needs to be done on Jennifer McCabe. The point is...
I'm sorry, I missed that. You've what?
I've done the damage that needed to be done on Jennifer McCabe. I don't need to call her back. The point
He's done the damage?
What's good for the goose is good for the gander. The Commonwealth doesn't get to stand in the position of piecemealing and feeding us information, reports, discovery throughout the course of the trial. And by the way, when we then got seminal information about an expert that we did not know about, never met, never heard of, within 3 days of that, we provide everything that we have about that witness to the Commonwealth. They can't then turn around and say, oh, well, it's all the defense's fault. So we want to have a voir dire, which means that the euphemism for that voir dire is we want to have two bites at the apple.
Okay.
We want to be able to completely cross-examine her, then go back to our expert, and if she testifies, cross-examine her again after consulting with our expert. That's 2 bites at the apple, and that's not fair. If the court wants to hear whether or not Dr. Marie Russell is qualified to testify about the arm injuries, that, I believe, is the parameters, the proper parameters of the voir dire, and that's what I'm prepared to do today. But I wasn't planning on getting into the substance of her testimony because that's been provided. And I don't think Mr. Lally should be able to get into the substance of her testimony because he knows what the substance is because, like I said, that's been provided.
All right, so I disagree. I'm going to hear from the Commonwealth on this. Is it Ms. McLaughlin or Mr. Lally?
Your Honor, just briefly in regard to what counsel was referencing with Ms. McCabe, it was not a full interview by Lieutenant Tully. It was and I don't have it on me at this moment, but I can give the court a copy of that report. But essentially it was Ms. McCabe met with Lieutenant Tully, looked at some video, and was asked a single question. That report wasn't available. I didn't have it until after Ms. McCabe testified, but it was given to counsel prior to Lieutenant Tully testifying, and there were no questions asked of Lieutenant Tully in regard to that. My issue, and you know, I wasn't asking for a voir dire as it proposed to, as it relates to Dr. Russell, is that we first heard of Dr. Russell on May 21st, which was, I think, 6 weeks into trial.
Right, so that's what I asked, and you told me it was 3 days after the beginning of trial, Mr. Jackson.
No, Your Honor, I said this at sidebar the other day, and I just said it again today. I let the Commonwealth and the court.
So he
know
lied
about
to the
her
judge.
3 days after I learned about her, which was the 17th of May. I think it was the 17th of May. I had never heard of her. I didn't know who she was. We made contact. I determined that she would be useful for the jury in terms of specifically the injuries to John O'Keefe's arm. I then had one conversation with her, then immediately, within 3 days of that, turned that information over to the prosecution. So I didn't say that.
He's a good liar. He's a very good liar. What do you think, Phil?
All right, but you were ordered to do it, Ms. Giannetti. What was the
Yeah,
date?
he didn't
What,
come
you
up
had
with
1
the
week
date
from
until
when?
Unetti brought it
Are
up.
you Lally?
Lally brought it up.
So it would have been, I believe, April 15th. So what we knew as of that date, we were required to turn over.
I need to take a quick listen.
What?
Oh, she's pissed. Oh, she's pissed. When the judge says, okay, I need to take a quick recess, you're fucked.
Yep.
Somebody's
Yeah,
getting
I
fucked.
think she's gonna be looking into some case law.
Oh, okay. Let's somebody give us a time. 47:15. Hank asked me to give him timestamps. 47:15. At probably 46. Probably 45. To 47:15. She just came back.
Wow. That was quick.
She's looking up something now.
Yep. So she must have went and got something.
Yeah, good morning, Pants. Welcome. This again is basically voir dire on 3 of the defense's witnesses that they haven't even interviewed yet. It just came out that the defense lied about when they had the information on the one expert, and they refused to tell the judge until the prosecution set a date. So, judge ain't happy. Judge ain't happy, and those are Karen Reed's parents on screen. That's her father, Mr. Montgomery Burns. Virgo, I should have done bench slaps for what we're counting today.
Excellent.
Jim, the Commonwealth's motion, the Commonwealth's renewed motion.
Gia is eating crumpets this morning. Gia is eating crumpets.
Having a spot of tea and some crumpets.
Never mind, Jim.
Like a proper English one.
I've got it, yeah.
When did she become an English woman? I thought she
All
was
right,
from
so the Commonwealth has moved that I exclude the testimony of Dr. Russell based on a violation of the reciprocal discovery obligations of the defense. So I do find that there is a violation of the reciprocal discovery obligations of Rule 14. And I'm quoting from the notes, the importance of this, the reporter's notes to the old rule. And as you all know, we're in the process of updating that rule, but the very integrity of the judicial system and public confidence in the system depend on full disclosure of all the facts within the framework of the rules of evidence. To ensure that justice is done, it is imperative to the function of courts that compulsory process be available for the production of evidence needed either by the prosecution or the defense. So, what we're here to do today is decide a remedy for this violation. And that's why we're having a voir dire. I am not prohibiting the Commonwealth from anything on their examination of witness, Mr. Jackson. The alternative is she doesn't testify. So the Commonwealth has not received the appropriate discovery from this witness. So we're going to have a voir dire, and they can ask her anything that they think they need to ask her. So those are the parameters of
I
this
understand.
meeting.
As long as I know the guardrails, that's fine. Just to close the loop on the record, my understanding, and this Little can probably speak to this more intelligently than I can, but during the middle of trial, there was a witness that we had never heard of, we did not know and didn't have a report for.
Who is that?
Dr. Fowler, Faller.
Okay.
If the court remembers, is buried in the middle of about 75 witnesses. So he testified to alcohol levels, et cetera, and protocols at which institution? At Good Samaritan. And we didn't have that information either. We didn't throw a fit. They said we were going to provide this information in a timely fashion as soon as we know that we're
She's
going to
openly laughing at him.
one way or the other what he was going to say. We didn't have a report, and we went on about our business. That's what we were doing as well. And by the way, I would note that the notes and the report under Rule 14 require disclosure of information you have. I just don't want the court to think that we were sitting on information that we didn't turn over.
No, I'm not saying that. It's just, this isn't as if it were something that the Commonwealth brought up and you needed to scramble. This is entirely of the defense position. So,
I understand.
All right, so that's the big difference. So why don't you go ahead and call her?
Okay, may I be excused to call her?
Yes.
Oh, the judge is pissed.
Yeah.
This is not good. This because they're trying to get the third party defense admitted, and this this witness is supposed to be testifying that the dog did it, that the dog attacked the arm, and it is curious that Jackson is saying that he's not even going to ask her what she could say about dog bites. He's just going to ask her about her qualifications.
Tuck your legs in.
Yeah, they don't want to tip their hand at what their defense is.
Yep.
Commissioner, didn't you solemnly swear the understood the court the case now here and true the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Let's take this here.
Good morning.
So I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up, speak right into that microphone, doctor, okay?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Yes. Marie Russell, Russell.
And I'm going to echo what the court just indicated. The air conditioners are on, so please keep your voice as elevated as possible and speak. Maneuver the microphone however you need to, okay?
Okay.
Dr. Russell, what do you do for a living?
I am a retired emergency physician and forensic pathologist.
And tell me what education you have, going all the way back to the beginning, that qualifies you as an emergency physician and former pathologist before you retired.
Okay, well, I've had about at least 16 years of formal education beyond high school. Initially, I started at MIT, where I did my pre-med courses. I had always wanted to be a physician. And so I went to MIT for a year, took pre-med courses. And then I had an unusual life event in that my mother came down with cancer and she subsequently passed away. During the time away, so I took some time off from school. During that period of time, I decided to explore another interest of mine, which was law enforcement. And so I took some courses in law enforcement, and I became a full-time police officer here in Massachusetts.
What years were you at MIT?
That was 1972 to 1974.
Did you go to the police academy?
I did. Once I became a police officer here in Massachusetts, I attended the Boston Police Academy where I graduated.
What year was that?
That was in 1977.
During the course of your training as a police officer, did you have any specialized training in hit and run and accidents and investigations?
Yes, I did.
And which agency did you work for as a sworn peace officer?
I worked for the city of Malden full-time for 7 years.
That would be from 1977 to 1984, approximately?
Correct.
During that time, did you continue your education in any way?
I did. So I took as many courses as I could from the Massachusetts Criminal Justice Training Council, which included a course, a several-day course in hit-and-run accident investigation. I took courses in forensic photography and numerous other things. And then, and I also at the same time continued to go to college. And I did that part-time, where I eventually got a bachelor's degree of science in psychology with highest honors.
What institution was that from?
That was from Northeastern University.
And that was a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology?
I think it was a Bachelor of Science.
Got it. Subsequent to your Bachelor of Science degree from Northeastern, did you also advance your education further, formally?
Subsequent to, so yes, so I decided that I did want to pursue a medical career. And so I then attended medical school, University of Massachusetts Medical School full-time for 4 years.
Did you ultimately get a degree, an MD degree from UMass?
Yes, a Doctor of Medicine degree in 1987.
So you were there from 1983 to 1987, is that right?
That is correct.
And did you do a residency?
I did 2 residencies, actually. Most people do 1, but I did 2. I did, my first residency was a combined internship and residency for 4 years. And I did that in Los Angeles at Los Angeles County Medical Center, which is a very big trauma center and what I would consider the Bellevue of the West Coast. Very busy.
You say that just because of the volume at USC Medical Center?
That is correct.
Is it one of the busiest medical trauma centers in the country?
Yes.
You were there from 1987 to 1991, is that right?
Yes, I did my ER internship and residency during those years. Yes, there.
During that time, were you seeing patients?
Oh, yes.
You were treating patients?
Lots of them.
You were attending to patients?
I was a trainee, so I was seeing as many patients as we could. There was always a waiting room full of patients, and yeah, so I saw many patients during that time period.
Did you indicated a second residency? Tell me about that.
Okay, so I still realized I had an interest in forensics, and so I decided that I wanted to also train in forensic pathology. So I did a second residency in anatomic pathology, 2 years, followed by forensic pathology fellowship at the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office for 2 years.
And the years, if that's 4 years, that would be from 1991 to 1995 approximately?
That is correct.
Tell me what your experience was as a fellow at the Los Angeles Coroner's Office, Los Angeles County Coroner's Office.
Yes, well, it also was a very busy coroner's office. And so every day there would be cases. I probably did at least 2 cases a day, most days, and plus conferences and educational opportunities. But the interesting thing about being a fellow is they try to give you a wide assortment of cases. So, for instance, I not only saw numerous victims of gunshot violence and stabbings, but I saw numerous victims of motor vehicle accidents and natural death, overdoses. And then if there was an unusual case, it usually went to the fellow, because the fellow was also being supervised. So,
did any of those unusual cases, and we'll get more into this in just a second, but did any of those unusual cases include animal attacks?
Yes.
Did you become a professor, an educator at any point?
Yes. So during my 29 years at LA County Hospital, during the last 25 of those, I was a assistant professor or an instructor, but mostly an assistant professor. And what that meant is that I was responsible for overseeing the care that was provided by the interns and residents. So when a patient would come in to into the hospital, the emergency room, they were oftentimes usually seen by the intern or resident, and then I would go and subsequently see that patient also. So, and that was in addition to my own cases. So I'd see my cases and their cases.
And that was at LAUSC, correct?
That is correct. And
can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
LAUSC, for those of us who are not necessarily familiar with it, is that associated with the University of Southern California Medical Center?
Yes.
That's the school, in other words, the site.
Yes. So it stands for Los Angeles County / University of Southern California Medical Center.
And that's where you were an assistant professor for the majority of the rest of your career?
Correct.
Were you also an assistant or an adjunct professor at Cal State Los Angeles?
Yes.
Okay. For how long were you an adjunct professor there?
I believe that was 4 or 5 years. And I taught criminalistics, forensic medicine there.
As an attending physician in the ER, in other words, a supervising physician in the ER, can you tell us what some of your duties and responsibilities included, especially as it pertains to trauma? And then I'll get more specific in just a second.
Okay. Well, so I would oversee the care of all the patients that came in during a particular shift. And that would include medical patients and trauma patients.
Okay, this is horrible, but every time I see her face, I'm just thinking she's Kate McKinnon from Saturday Night Live in a mask. She's a dead ringer. I'm sorry for sharing, but that's all I'm seeing right now. I'm sure she's had a storied history and all that, but yeah, it's Kate. It's
Yeah,
Kate McKinnon.
thanks for that. Thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's stuck in your
Appreciate
brain
it.
right now.
Appreciate
I'm
it.
glad I could share.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, it was a very busy trauma center. So we had lots of trauma patients, including the types of violence I described earlier that I saw at the coroner's office, but lots of motor vehicle accident victims because there was a highway there right nearby. There were a couple of highways, so a wide variety of accidents.
Did your supervision include assessing, diagnosing, and treating patients?
Correct.
In terms of the middle part of that, diagnosis, was part of your job to determine the cause of injuries or to at least assess the cause of injuries?
Yes, and I took that on a little bit more because I was interested in the forensics aspect of the injuries.
The forensic aspect?
Yes.
Okay. During your time at LAUSC, even after you left the Los Angeles coroner's office as a fellow, did you continue to stay in contact with the coroner's office and have a relationship with the coroner's office as a supervising physician?
Good morning, Serial.
I continued to stay in contact with the coroner's office, and I used to attend their conferences as often as I could, not as a supervising physician, but as a physician and a graduate of their program.
During your tenure at LAUSC, did you ever become the director of any programs at LAUSC?
Yes.
Does that include the director of Center for Life Support Training?
Yes.
What years was that, if you remember?
I don't remember that.
The early 2000s, late 90s?
Yes, that sounds about right.
Okay.
And we would conduct lots of courses, including trauma, life support courses.
Did LAUSC incorporate a quality improvement program?
Yes.
Within their institution?
Yes.
Did you become a director of that as well?
Yes.
So you were director of Center for Life Support Training and director of LAUSC Medical Center Quality Improvement, is that right?
The quality improvement was for the emergency department.
All
yes.
Right. And did you also become the director for jail medical services?
Yes.
What is the association between LAUSC and...
Real quick, thank you, Armageddon's Fire, for the tip. Message was, thanks for the entertainment. We do have tipping on now via Stream Elements. Since today's going to be long and boring, if you want to get me to do weird things, within reason, I'm not taking my shirt off or going on webcam. Sorry, Pants, I'm not on webcam today. Yeah, just put them in tips and I'll see what I can do.
Just
Not
a
that I'm
tip.
money
Though.
grubby.
Just a tip.
I
Just a
I
tip.
just have bills due. So yes, I will. I'm open to humiliating myself. I can't say humiliating myself. I'm humiliating myself by the fact that I can't say humiliate. So there we go.
And then the best people vernacular, Jim will prostitute himself for tips.
Yes. Gia, I will dance. I could put the camera on and dance if the right donation came in. Yes, but oh, good Lord, that'd be a lot. So anyway, let's get back to this testimony. It's gonna be a long day. We're here till probably 4 o'clock, and yeah, Hank's out sick. He'll be rejoining us if he feels better later on
And in the
today.
finest vernacular of where it counts until the cows come home. We're here till
And
the
you
cows
better
come
not
home.
send that. That's not. Yeah. So, no, it's got to be more than $1 Parsons. Because
Unless it's in his G-string, then he will dance.
I don't wear a G-string. It's boxers.
Who?
Boxers.
Ooh. Yes. Dance is even more excited.
I'm not going to be in my boxers dancing. I'm sorry. Anyway, back to Kate McKinnon.
And the very, very expansive jail system in Los Angeles County.
So LA County Hospital was unique in that they many years ago developed a jail, what they called a jail ward, which was a combined inpatient, outpatient, and ER. So there was a dedicated jail ER. And that has been in existence for probably about 70 years now. And patients that were placed under arrest by either LA sheriffs, LAPD, California Highway Patrol, or any of the municipal agencies in the area, and I think there were about 70 or more municipal agencies, could bring their patients to the LA County jail ward where the patients would get treatment.
Ultimately, you became the director of that entire program, correct?
Yes.
Did you also work with the State Medical Board of California in any capacity?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
For about 7 years, I worked part-time for the California Medical Board as a physician assigned to one of their enforcement teams. And I did that 1 day a week, and I did my other job at the county hospital the other 40 hours a week.
So you didn't take off time from your duties as an ER physician, as an emergency physician. This was in addition to you being an emergency physician.
That is correct.
Did you hold the title of Chief Medical Executive for the California State Prison System, specifically at Corcoran?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I retired from LA County Hospital, and I went on to move on to the the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation.
And what year was that? Did you make that transition?
So 2018 is when I started for the state prison system.
Okay.
And I worked there for 5 years as director of their medical service in Corcoran.
I'm sorry. So for that prison, within that system, you were the chief medical executive for the entire agency, correct?
That is correct.
All right.
For the entire prison.
Understood. Are you board certified in emergency medicine?
Yes.
Are you a member of the National Association of Medical Examiners?
Yes.
Are you a member of the American Academy of Forensic Science?
Yes.
Do you have any publications in the area? And I'm going to be very specific because you've been relatively widely published. Is that right?
Some people would say yes. Some people would say no.
More than a couple of publications.
Correct.
And peer-reviewed journals, correct?
Yes.
I want to focus your attention on animal injuries. Have you been published in the area of animal injuries specifically?
Yes.
Do you recall those publications?
Yes, they had to do with law enforcement dog bites.
Did you draft an article or co-author an article called Managing Law Enforcement Dog Bites in the ER?
Yes, I was a co-author.
1996?
Sounds right.
And that was a peer-reviewed article,
Yes,
ultimately published,
yes,
and ultimately available to be cited by other doctors and studied by other doctors, correct?
correct.
Did you also author or co-author an article entitled Law Enforcement Canine Dog Bites, Injuries, Complications, and Trends?
Yes, I did.
Was that in 1997?
Sounds right.
Was that also peer-reviewed?
Yes,
And that publication was also available for other physicians throughout California and throughout the country to refer to for the study of animal bites and dog bites, correct?
dog bites, yes.
Dog bites. Concerning animal injuries, during the course of your professional experience, how many patients have you seen, diagnosed, and or treated with animal injuries, including dog bites and scratches, if you had to estimate?
Many hundreds.
Would you say it's over or under 1,000?
I would say it's over 500. I don't know because we didn't keep really good records back in the earlier days.
But it's safe to say you've seen hundreds
So
and
it's
hundreds
been
and
that
hundreds of dog
long
bites and
since
scratches.
she.
Yes, in my 29 years at LA County Hospital, yes. And my dog bites I took
Yes.
care of and dog bites that the residents took care of. Yes.
And you've even published articles and studied, not just seen them, but studied dog bites and dog wounds, correct?
In
Yes.
the 90s.
Have you qualified
Yes.
as an expert previously in other courts as in emergency medicine?
Yes.
Have you qualified as an expert in other courts in forensic pathology and wounds?
Yes.
Has that been in both state and federal court?
Yes.
Doctor, were you asked to review certain materials related to this case?
Yes.
And that was in furtherance of coming to, if you could, come to an opinion or a conclusion about injuries to the victim in this case, a person by the name of John O'Keefe.
Yes.
What did you review in anticipation of your determining whether or not you could come to an opinion or a conclusion?
So I reviewed hospital photographs, autopsy photographs, an autopsy report, grand jury testimony from the medical examiner in this case. There may be some other.
Based on
I just want to ask about that. Do you have notes with you as to what you reviewed?
No.
Okay, so when you say there might be other, you don't.
Well,
If he tells you what you reviewed, you'd know it.
I would recognize it.
All right, but I want to hear it from you. You don't know of anything else that you've reviewed? This is sort of important, Mr. Jackson.
Okay.
This is sort of important,
Can you
Mr.
think of
Jackson.
anything else, Doctor,
The
besides
autopsy.
these?
Autopsy photographs, autopsy report, neuropathology report, toxicology report, and the grand jury testimony.
Okay, so as you recall, the items that you reviewed include an autopsy report by Dr. Scortibello, correct?
Yes.
A neuropathology report by a doctor named Stonebridge, correct?
Yes.
Toxicological reports associated with the autopsy?
Yes.
Grand jury transcripts from Dr. Scortibello?
Yes.
Photographs of evidence items, including a gray sweatshirt?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And autopsy photos that were taken attendant to the actual autopsy?
Yes, and photographs that were taken in the hospital, and I reviewed the hospital ER record also.
So in addition to what you just listed,
She didn't
there's also
examine
hospital
any of
photos
the
separate
evidence,
apart from the autopsy
including
photos,
what
is that
did the
correct?
damage to the
Yes.
arm.
And those hospital photos showed the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's arm, is that right?
Yes.
And you also reviewed emergency room records that are attendant to his
And I agree with Parsons. What about the puppy
acceptance
jack?
into the emergency room on January 29th, 2022.
Maybe she
That's
had-
correct.
Based on your review of all of those materials, were you able to confidently come to any conclusions or opinions about the nature of the injuries suffered by John O'Keefe, specifically as they relate to John O'Keefe's right arm?
Yes.
What is your opinion and conclusion concerning those injuries?
Those injuries appear to be consistent with an animal attack.
Can you be more specific in terms of the type of animal or are you relegated to simply an animal attack?
Well, they are consistent with a large dog attack. There's a combination of both what I consider bite wounds and scratch wounds on the arm. There were also some puncture wounds in that shirt.
And
so I'm sorry, puncture wounds in the shirt?
Puncture holes in the shirt.
And on what do you base the opinion that the injuries are consistent with dog bite or scratch marks?
Well, the patterns. There are several patterns of parallel wounds that appear to be superficial scratches that could have been caused by nails or could have been caused by teeth. There are different angles on the arm and different locations on the arm, and but they're generally oriented in a specific direction. And there's also an area, the distal forearm, which is close to the wrist, which shows what I believe is an arch area of teeth marks.
And what's the significance of the arch area?
Well, so the arch would be the front area of the jaw of the animal, or the dog in this case, where the teeth tend to be close together and curved. There's a curved pattern to the configuration of the teeth.
I'm going to have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Huh. Yeah, I'm tending to agree with you, Griffey. She's full of something. Yeah, this isn't going to go over well. Yes, or she doesn't know.
Doctor, I'm going to show you a series of photographs.
She's coming off as a nice old lady who may have worked in the field.
Can I approach you?
Yes.
But I wouldn't put my life in her hands.
First, can you describe whether or not you recognize what's depicted in that photograph? Have you seen that photograph before?
Yes, I have.
Is that part of what you reviewed in coming to your opinions and conclusions?
Yes.
What is that a photograph of?
So this is a photograph of the decedent's arm near the elbow. And do you want me to describe what it shows?
Just briefly.
Okay.
Of what
and it shows wounds.
Okay. Your Honor, I would ask that that be marked as next in order of evidence.
All right, so for this voir dire, we'll have separate evidence, right? Is this an exhibit number in the trial already?
It has not been marked yet, so I'm fine with starting over, sort of for the purposes of the voir dire process.
So this will be a separate voir dire with separate exhibit, yes.
So it's going to be exhibit 1?
Yes.
1 and 1.
Your Honor, I want to move this along. This has been marked, but I think...
Hold on. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
This one
I'm so sorry.
One of the three has already been marked, but if, just for consistency, I'd rather mark it additionally for voir dire. Yes.
Need a separate record for the voir dire.
May I approach?
Yes.
This one's already been marked, but I'll remark it.
And if you'd tell me the exhibit numbers that they are. So you're putting these in now? There's no objection, Mr. Lally?
For purposes of this, no.
Okay. So we'll mark these now, but
May I approach?
Yes.
The one with the label 2858 on the bottom has previously been marked in the trial. I would ask that this be marked as the next in order for the voir dire.
But what I want is the exhibit number at the trial.
I'll get that for you. I believe it's exhibit 19.
Okay.
Okay, don't go too hard on the witness. It's not her fault that Jackson is an idiot.
Is that 19?
Nope.
It's 19.
Okay. And is the third one also in evidence, you said?
2 of the 3 have not been marked. I'll as soon as Madam Court reporter is ready.
She's ready.
I'm ready. May I just establish the foundation?
Yes.
The following 2 photographs that I just showed you, Doctor, do you recognize those?
Yes.
Did you also review those in terms of, in furtherance of coming to your opinions and conclusions?
Yes.
Do they also appear to be different photographs of John O'Keefe's arm?
Yes.
I would move for the admission of both of those, Your Honor, for purposes of voir dire.
There's been no objection to them, so they're in. They're already marked.
I just need to know which one's 2 and which one's 3. May I approach?
Yes.
Parsons Pants is a 40-year wine expert as well.
With court permission, may I publish
Yes.
Exhibit 2 for voir dire?
Yes.
And that's WHINE.
W8. Well, no, he's 40-something.
Is this a photograph of the of John O'Keefe's arm?
Yes.
Is this one of the several photographs that you reviewed in coming to your
Those are not
conclusions?
dog bites.
Yes.
I want to ask you a couple of questions about this. There should be a laser pointer on the desk.
Oh, okay.
Can you explain for the jurors what it is about the injuries that assisted you in coming to your opinion and conclusion that this is from an animal attack?
Okay, there's several patterns here. So, for instance, let's look here, right near the elbow, the exterior part of the elbow. There's these 2 linear marks, which appear to be from upper teeth, and 2 punctures below those, which are superficial, meaning they didn't go very deep into the skin, but they appear from the lower teeth. So that's one pattern. There's another pattern close to the shoulder, which shows parallel marks, these 2, and maybe a third one in the middle, parallel marks that are oriented at a certain angle. And these are superficial wounds, which are consistent with teeth marks. They also could be possibly consistent with nail marks, but
What?
nails from
Nail marks.
from claw.
Okay, but,
yes.
but stop for a minute.
We have
stop
some
for a
more here,
Hold on, let me
similar
get over there.
from obviously different teeth involved.
Whoops. Yes.
Okay. But just look at those 2 that you just pointed at, and then follow the path of those 2. And you're telling me that a dog's teeth are going to go from a wider starting point to a narrower finishing point as they bite.
Yes. And over here, let's see if this shows up where my pointer is. If you can see that. Why, if those are from the jaws, then why do they not match these?
A different claws.
I don't.
Which are from the jaws.
Exactly.
And these are not from the jaws. And these are more in a pattern as if they were hit by something hard, which has ridges on it.
Yes.
that does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That they were shown in a bag called the plastic taillight. Just saying. Just saying. I'm not trying to bias the jury or anybody, but who the hell is this woman and why is she saying these are actually dog bites? Because they're not.
I don't know, but the cross is going to be interesting. Okay. Anyway, continue.
My body is I have got 13 cats in the house. My body is covered in either bites or scratches, and it's inadvertent stuff just from playing with the cats.
Right.
The other day, one of them jumped on my lap and missed and ripped open the side of my leg. That's a cat scratch. These are not scratches of anything. These just, they're not.
Yeah.
They're too abnormal to be dog bites. That's all I'm gonna say. They're not dog bites.
Having a dog, having a dog that is a mouthy player. I have lots of scratches all over my forearms when I get done playing. None of them look anything like any of those.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Plus, there's also the factor is she's from California. These bite marks, these wounds, happened in below freezing temperatures during a snowstorm.
Yes.
So while they may have thought out differently, there has been no mention of her expertise in dealing with victims who have had bite marks or whatever happen to them in sub-zero and how they would react when they thaw out at essentially room temperature. Just saying they look like dog bites, I don't think that's going to fly, but who knows with this jury.
Well, we'll see. Anyway.
And then over down here, closer to the wrist, we have an unusual pattern.
Parsons, while it does snow in California, it does not snow that as it was a blizzard of several feet of snow, sustained cold, where the guy was out in the cold, in the snow, being covered in the snow.
Yeah,
in
not
the
the
LA
same,
area.
yeah,
It's not the same
as a
thing.
nor'easter. Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't experienced a northeastern, no, she's not qualified to testify on that.
Of at least 4 striations, the way I see it, at least 4 striations that I believe are caused from the teeth towards the front of the mouth, near the arch. It appears that there's an arch pattern here. So,
in a dog attack or in an animal attack, in your experience, and we can take this one down. Let's cover the ground on the 3 exhibits that we've already marked. Can we take a look at exhibit 1? Is this just a may I publish, Your Honor? Yes, I apologize. Is this just a close-up of the same injuries?
Yes.
And do these appear to be consistent with what you just testified to in terms of either teeth or claw marks, especially as it relates to the area closest to the elbow?
Yes.
All right. And then looking at exhibit 3.
Parsons, the Donner Party did not happen in LA where she did her residency. Just saying.
May I publish?
Yes.
Is this a close-up view of the area closer to the wrist that indicated those parallel, you used the word striations?
Yes.
All right, and these appear to be taken, attended to the autopsy as opposed to the other photograph, exhibit 2, that was taken in the hospital. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right. And would the time difference account for the slight change in the nature of the wound?
It could.
Photograph of the wound, I guess?
It could, or a different technique, yes.
Okay. Let me take these down. Did you take into consideration the lack, in coming to your opinion and conclusion, the lack of other injuries, for instance, fractures broken bones, or deep bruising, soft tissue injuries.
Oh, yes.
How did that play into your opinion?
Well, so of course I considered, what else could have caused these wounds, before coming to my conclusion. And so I wanted to rule out other things. And there were no significant major bodily injuries that, outside the head. There was nothing, there were no fractures of the long bones, the chest, the pelvis, the arms. So yeah, so having seen hundreds and hundreds of car accident victims and people hit by cars, I ruled that out very quickly.
Okay. And in terms of the injuries that you did see, especially as they're attendant to the arm, based on everything that we've discussed today, is it your opinion, based on a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, that those injuries are consistent with an animal attack as opposed to a motor vehicular pedestrian incident?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
That's it?
All right, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Let me take you back to, you were talking about some police training that you had received when you were in the academy or while you were working with the police department here in Massachusetts. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, what kind of training what did that training consist of?
Well, I attended and graduated from the Standard Police Academy at that time. And then I took additional courses that were offered from the Massachusetts Criminal Justice Training Council. And these were taught generally by experts in their fields, and they were on a variety of subjects that are listed in my CV, included, the hit and run accident investigation, forensic.
There, just for a minute, ma'am. Doctor, in reference to your training as it pertains to hit and run accidents, what did that training consist of?
Oh, well, mechanisms of how accidents occur, mechanisms of how to determine, what vehicle was involved in an accident. There, I don't, it was a long, long time ago, but yeah. So determining if people were struck by vehicles, what vehicle was involved, or if there was auto versus auto accident, what vehicles were involved.
And I don't mean to belittle this training whatsoever, but is it fair to say that that was relatively rudimentary training that you received in the academy?
Probably. I would not, yes, okay, probably. If
you don't have any training in crash reconstruction or anything like that, correct?
That is correct.
And am I correct in you indicated that you're board certified in emergency medicine, is that right?
That's correct.
And so you're not board certified in forensic pathology or anatomical pathology or any kind of pathology?
That's correct.
And the last time that you worked as a coroner, when was that?
Last time was in 1995 when I was doing autopsies for the coroner's office. I have since, though, consulted on some cases from the LA coroner's office.
What, about 30 years ago? Is that about right?
For autopsy, yes.
Now, have you ever testified in a case in which either Mr. Jackson or Attorney Little were counsel?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And when was it that you first were contacted in reference to this case?
The first contact was May 15th.
May 15th of what year?
May 17th, excuse me, of this year, 2024. Yes.
And you went through a list of things that you were provided and you reviewed, and you mentioned hospital photos, correct?
Yes.
Autopsy photos, is that correct?
Yes.
An autopsy report, is that correct?
Yes.
Grand jury testimony from the medical examiner, is that correct?
Yes.
A neuropathology report, is that correct?
Yes.
A toxicology report, is that correct?
Yes.
And then I think you also remembered some photos of some clothing items, is that correct as well?
Yes, a shirt. And
anything else?
Yeah, hospital ER record.
Hospital ER records.
Yeah, yes.
Anything else that you can think of?
No,
Did you ask for anything else to review?
no.
Were you told of any other material that was available for your review that you weren't then given?
Well, I requested that that I focus in on the wounds, so I didn't ask for a lot of material in this case.
But fair to say that you were looking for anything and everything, material to the wounds that you were asked to look at, correct?
Please say that again.
Sure. Fair to say that you would want to look at anything and everything that was related to the wounds that you were asked to look at, correct?
Yes.
And so, did you make any specific requests as to what material you were provided, or were you just handed some material or forwarded some material and you looked at what you were given?
No, I requested that I have the autopsy photographs, the ER records, the ER photographs. I requested those.
Now, you mentioned some articles that you had written that were published back in 1996 and 1997 related to dog bites. Is that right?
Yes.
Are those publicly available articles?
Yes.
And in those articles that you wrote, you were talking about law enforcement bites, correct?
Yes.
So law enforcement canine bites typically involve what people call sort of a bite and hold technique. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
So is there a difference between, through your experience and the hundreds of dog bites that you've seen, is there a difference between what you would observe from a dog bite from a law enforcement canine versus just your domesticated dog?
Well, yes. Now, the study, one of those studies was over 700 dog bite wounds, and there were two techniques used at that time: bite and hold, and later on, bark and hold, or bark and alert, or something of that nature. So there are different techniques, but yes, to specifically answer that question, which was, are they generally different from regular domestic dog bites? Yes.
Now, did you write a report in regard to your opinion that you testified to here today?
No.
Why not?
I don't think there was much time, and I didn't know if I was going to be actually testifying.
How long would it take you to write a report?
I wasn't asked to write a report, excuse me.
Were you asked specifically not to write a report?
No.
Now, at any point in time, did you ever look at anything related to Mr. O'Keefe's head injury?
Oh, yes.
So you reviewed reports in relation to that, correct?
Yes.
Do you have any opinions as it pertains to that?
I would rather defer to the pathologist and neuropathologist on that.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So she only looked at the arm and said he was attacked by an animal, didn't look at the head wound. Uh-oh.
So who contacted you about this case?
I contacted a district attorney that I had worked with in the past. We were discussing a different case, a case that I autopsied in 1995. And I mentioned that I heard that there was a case in Massachusetts that might have been being handled by one of his colleagues, his former colleagues, and that there was an issue of whether something was a dog bite, and that I might be able to help in that case, to clarify.
And so when you were provided this material, what is it that you were specifically asked to do?
To look at the wounds and the reports and the materials that were sent to me and render an opinion.
And so before you had even been provided any material, before you had even looked at anything, you had already heard information related to there being a dog bite involved in this case, correct?
I had heard that there was a controversy, that there's some certain wounds could have been a dog bite versus perhaps inflicted by a motor vehicle. That's what I had heard.
So what I'm really trying to get at, Doctor, is sort of the timeline. Okay, so you hear about this, when was that?
Sometime just before May 17th.
So sometime just prior to that, you hear about some controversy in a case in Massachusetts involving a dog bite. On May 17th, you get reached out to by who specifically?
His name is John Lewin. He's an attorney in the LA District Attorney's Office.
And then who did you talk to after that?
I reached out to him. I said I might be able to clarify. And then he reached out to Mr. Jackson, I believe, and then Mr. Jackson contacted me.
And not asking specifically anything you spoke about, but at some point, the discussion came specifically to dog bites, correct?
He sent me the materials. He asked me my opinion.
Mentioned the materials, asked you your opinion. When did you provide that opinion?
Probably the next day. Yes, I know it was the next day.
So the very next day on May 18th, you provided an opinion?
Yes.
And was that opinion provided in a written fashion, orally? How was that provided?
Orally.
So you reached out to someone shortly before May 17th, spoke to Mr. Jackson on the 17th, received all the material, and then had an opinion by May 18th.
Yes.
But you didn't write any of that down?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
This would be a strategy.
Now, beyond the materials that you were provided, what else were you told about the case?
I was told that the victim was a police officer. The decedent is a police officer. I was told that the defendant had been charged, and I was told that that there was a controversy about whether or not these injuries had been caused by a motor vehicle. And I was also told, and I read in the medical record, that the decedent was found outdoors, I believe in the snow, and hypothermic.
Now, in regard
And
to
there
what
were
you reviewed,
wolves
you
in the
didn't
area.
review any investigative reports, is that correct?
That is correct.
You didn't review any witness statements, is that correct?
That's correct.
You didn't review any lab reports as far as from the forensic lab or anything like that?
I reviewed the toxicology report.
Beyond that, any other?
If it was part of the autopsy report, I reviewed it.
You reviewed everything attendant to the medical examiner's file, is that correct?
Yes.
Nothing from the lab beyond that?
I don't believe I did.
Now, this first instance when you say you heard about it, how did you hear about it?
Well, I believe it was via a headline that I received in my email from the from Boston Globe headline. It was some kind of there was some kind of interesting case, and I got it as an email, and I looked into it.
I got it as an email from my
That was
grandson.
that week in May.
I had a dream.
Also
of
came,
a few
spirit
days
came with a
before
the
May,
nice Nigerian
17th.
prince who I gave $100,000 to.
I did at that time.
Came as a dream from my
I have
spirit.
not reviewed it.
How long had you been a subscriber to the Boston Globe?
I'm going to allow it.
Probably a year or 6 months, 6 months to a year.
There was
God,
never
they
any
all
headlines or anything else that you saw about this prior to that week just before May 17th?
Not that I paid attention to.
Anything further, Mr. Jackson?
Nothing further.
All right, so since this is a voir dire, I get to ask questions, doctor? So
Oh, yes,
I
okay.
just have a couple of questions for you. I don't think I really heard you. So could you tell me again what your opinion is and to what degree you hold that opinion?
Yes. These injuries in the arm are, my opinion is that they are the result of animal bites or scratches.
And do you know what kind of animal?
Oh, yes, most likely dog, large dog. And I'm very reasonable, very sure to what's the word I want? Medical certainty, very
All right,
high,
so
high degree of medical certainty.
What's that
Reasonable
medical?
degree of certainty.
Yes, definitely.
What's that medical term?
Okay, and another question. So I received information that you also viewed all reports associated with Chloe, a dog's prior bite history. Did you review those?
No, I don't recall ever seeing anything like that.
That you also reviewed the UC Davis DNA testing results submission forms?
No, I don't recall seeing them.
Okay, any follow-up, any questions based on my questions?
Wah, wah. Not for the Commonwealth, no.
Great, you are all set, doctor. I don't know yet whether you'll be testifying.
Okay.
We'll try and let you know. You're going to be around for a few days?
No.
Okay, we'll let you know as soon as we can, okay?
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
And earlier, Timo said if you send them poppers, they'll give you a report in 48 hours.
So she was a super fan, got involved in the case, didn't examine the bite history, didn't get the DNA report, says it looked like, and Karen Reed is trying to direct her somewhere now.
Reasonable degree of medical certainty, even though there is no dog DNA in the
Yeah. She got the AOL discount, went on the internet.
Here, Granny, here's an article for you.
The judge is just speechless. Look at her.
So I would like to hear argument on this witness before we hear the other witnesses. So, and Ms. Giannetti, I asked you the other day whether she reached out to you or you reached out to her, and you said there was an intermediary. But my concern was whether she came out of nowhere and reached out about this case, and that seems to sort of...
It wasn't Ms. Giannetti, it was me.
Okay. All right. So the question I asked was answered pretty much by this witness, whether
So Jackson's
she saw
throwing
something and
Giannetti
decided
under
she
the
wanted to
bus.
come forward.
Yeah.
All right. It's the Commonwealth's motion. What are you asking me to do? Again, I found a violation of Rule 14. And there are two concerns here, the competency of the witness's testimony, how much she can testify to, whether she should testify at all. What is it you're asking me, Mr. Lally?
Your Honor, I'm asking that the witness be excluded from testifying at the trial for the violation of Rule 14. Specifically, I believe it's Rule 14A6. This is a witness, as the court picked up on, that reached out, albeit through an intermediary, with reference to just sort of discovering or coming upon this case in several weeks into the trial. It is concerning given the fact that the witness represented that she had a subscription to the Globe Online, received word of this, and the first time that she had ever seen it or it had grabbed her attention was in that first week of May when, as the court is well aware, there's been widespread media coverage, particularly through the Boston Globe, for years at this point. The limitations of the testimony, it's also concerning because the disclosure from counsel indicated, again, as the court had noted, I didn't want to get into too much as far as for purposes of this voir dire, but there was additional material that was indicated in the disclosure that the witness had reviewed, including the UC Davis related to the canine DNA or the lack thereof, as well as, forgive me, the dog bite history of that specific dog, which also I would note for the court includes photographs of what a dog bite from that specific dog looks like. And that specifically apparently was not provided to this witness, who's then opining on, inferably at least, that that dog was the cause of these particular injuries. However, was not shown specifically anything to do with that bite history as far as by way of reports or photographs. So that juxtaposed or coupled with the immensely late disclosure. I mean, we're talking about at least the 6th week of trial by the time this witness is even mentioned, not on the defendant's witness list, not mentioned at any point in time during the pendency of the case, and then sort of pops up in the middle of May, and to the point that the limited amount of material or information that's provided by counsel as far as disclosure or opinion doesn't come until today. So for all those reasons, Your Honor, the Commonwealth is requesting that her testimony in its entirety be excluded from this trial.
Jackson?
Your Honor, exclusion is the highest form of
Lally missed the opportunity to go.
Give it a sec, Phil. Phil, give it a sec. Okay, now what were you saying?
Lally missed the opportunity to go, and she's a loon.
Yes. Yes. I'm sorry, Jackson just started talking while you were talking.
I know.
So
I know.
Let's hear what the jackass, I mean, the wonderful person has to say.
Yes.
Her testimony in its entirety be excluded from this trial.
Jackson?
Your Honor, exclusion is the highest form of punishment. It's the highest form of sanction that the court has available to it. Just to put a fine point on it, it is a dire remedy. And I know the court has mentioned 2 or 3 times, I'm finding a violation of Rule 14. That sounds as if the court is suggesting or has inferred that we did something wrong. We didn't do anything wrong. As the court learned, I didn't reach out to her. She reached out and said, hey, look, I've got some experience with this.
I asked you that the other day, though, and I was told that you reached out to her through an intermediary. I wasn't told she reached out to you through an intermediary.
I don't know that there's a difference. I mean,
what I was trying to get at is this somebody who read about this case and said, you know, I want to be part of that. That's what I was trying to get at. I think it was pretty clear, Mr. Jackson. Go ahead, continue with your argument.
Okay, I cannot misrepresent anything.
I didn't say that.
I take offense at the court's tone that yes, you did say that. You just said that. You said, I just heard the testimony, and it's not what I said the other day. I know a person in Los Angeles DA's office. I received a text message from that person saying there's someone who reached out to me who said I might be able to elucidate on this controversy concerning the dog bites. I then reached out to her. So when you asked me who reached out to whom, I reached out to her through an intermediary, my friend in the DA's office.
She already reached out to.
So maybe it wasn't clear what I was looking for. I think it was clear. But go ahead, continue with your argument on this.
My point is, Rule 14 requires a sanction if, in fact, the attorney has done something wrong. In other words, it connotes the idea that we're doing something by actively hiding evidence or holding back evidence or not providing evidence that you know you're going to use at some point in an effort to take a tactical advantage. And the sanction for that is exclusion. I've never met this woman. First time I laid eyes on her was during the process after she flew out here to engage this voir dire process. She indicated I could potentially provide some information about this controversy concerning dog bites. I then sent her materials. I talked to her. I sent her materials. I found her to be incredibly credible. I found her to be experienced. And I found her to be knowledgeable in this very specific area, which is rare. There's not that many people who have published, doctors who have published in the area of dog bites specifically. So I thought it makes sense for me to reach out to her and talk to her, which is exactly what we did. And within a couple of days, literally, you could almost count it by the hours of me receiving her information, we then had a discussion amongst ourselves. Is this somebody that we want to then present on the defense side, on the defense case, and we turned the information over to Mr. Lally. I understand that it was well into the trial, but that's not a fault of ours, and I don't think the sanction
She was the rare golden star that we discovered.
Is necessary.
She'll prove it.
To punish Ms. Reed from having
what he's trying to do is back away from the fact that she has no relevant testimony to give.
Yeah, and she's a fan who came forward and basically, I can help. I can help. They were dog bites. They were dog bites.
From that specific dog.
Yes, without looking at the bite
history. You're right. And then also, how do you explain no DNA in the wounds from the dog?
Yeah. I mean, he's trying. Give him credit for trying. But it's like the husband who got caught on top of the hooker.
Yes.
It just fell in.
I tripped.
I was in the wrong room. I didn't know. My pants just fell off, and
I thought it was you, honey. I thought it was you. It was dark.
Yeah,
I was
this nice
confused.
lady was just lying here. Yeah, and I'm sorry. It just happened. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's just
sakes.
he's just obfuscating. He's just look over here. Don't pay attention to the fact that she's a complete nut job. Look over here.
You're saying we did something wrong? How could we do anything wrong? I reached out to her,
my
she reached out to me. It was simultaneous.
You're imputing my integrity.
The Kate McKinnon thing still applies. I was expecting her to do something on the way out, but
yes. She did. She tried to go out. She tried to go out the wrong door.
The wrong door. Yeah. You and Karen Reed was like, "No, hon, other door over here. Go over here, lady.
Over here.
No, hon, this way out, and keep going while you're at it, because I don't want to see you again." Here's some wine. Go do something. Just go sit with pants for a little bit. Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Here's a Starbucks. Here's a Starbucks certificate.
I mean, if she's accepted, this judge is just so lenient. But
I can't see how. Yeah. I can't see how it's relevant.
Yeah.
What Dr. Scordi-Bello and the Commonwealth is going to present in their case in chief. That's what she's going to do. She's going to present contrary evidence or an alternative theory of where those injuries came from.
Alternative facts.
Everybody on the Commonwealth side who can elucidate about this has said those injuries come from a taillight, including Mr. Paul yesterday. We have contrary evidence, and Ms. Reed should be entitled to present that evidence, even though it came late. It didn't come late by any fault of ours, and I don't believe that the Commonwealth has made out a prejudice that they can't overcome. It's late. Obviously, Mr. Lally is a skilled lawyer. There's nothing to say that he can't or hasn't been able to prepare for the cross-examination or for an examination in front of the jury. And I just don't think exclusion is appropriate.
All right. So the second part of this argument, and I'll start with the Commonwealth first. So in your motion to exclude, you also raise Daubert-type concerns. So, Mr. Lally, is there
the way she threw that down and threw her hand
her
up
to testify? Are there portions focused specifically on the part of her opinion where she says, I guess the defense expects her to be able to say she will testify that these injuries are inconsistent with having been struck by a vehicle, road rash, or scratches from broken glass or taillight material. I think you have an uphill battle on that part, Mr. Jackson. The Commonwealth, what are you saying? If she testifies, what should she be able to testify to? And don't just say nothing. I want some input.
No. If the court were permitted to test the doctor to testify, Your Honor, what I would submit would be permissible testimony from a legal standpoint. I have some factual questions in regard to that, but from a legal standpoint, I think the court could permit her to testify as to the injuries that she observed, her work in history in that area, observing prior injuries related to animal attacks and whatever consistency she believes that they have with that. I do not think it would be proper to allow this witness to testify or opine anything about the inconsistency with regard to pedestrian injuries. I don't think any proper foundation has been laid for there, whether it be through experiential knowledge in relation to that, or any sort of specialized training or knowledge, or anything to do with that. Anything from a forensic pathology or anatomical pathology perspective, I think should also be out of bounds and excluded with regard to this witness. She's certainly a very experienced emergency room physician. So anything in relation to that, I think it's permissible, but as far as the, experience when it comes to motor vehicle crashes or pedestrian crashes, of which the court is well aware, there are a litany of different types of interactions a pedestrian can have with a motor vehicle in a collision sequence. And simply saying, well, there was no injuries to the leg, so it couldn't have been a motor vehicle collision is just plain wrong, and not backed up by science or anything else that this witness can testify to from the very limited experience she has in that realm. So if the witness were able or permitted by the court to testify, I would submit that her testimony should be relegated to simply what, if any, opinions, her experience, obviously, and then what, if any, opinions she draws with regard to the causation of the injuries on the right arm, as it pertains to consistency there. But I venture to guess that it's likely that those are probably also going to be, in her opinion, consistent with many other causes beyond that, if she's being reasonable.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
I'll submit, Your Honor. I have no issue with, I just said I'll submit, I'm not submitting. I have no issue with limiting her testimony to the animal attack issue, the dog attack issue. I didn't, as the court noted, I didn't spend any time. I think I may have asked one question consistent with the motor vehicle incident. I have no problem if the court wants to limit her testimony to the dog bite aspect and not the motor vehicle aspect. I wasn't planning on going into that aspect anyway. I've got another pathologist who's going to do exactly that.
But you did go through it with her, and it's on your disclosure.
It is, but I have no problem editing.
So why is it on the disclosure, or where the Commonwealth turned over, that she viewed all reports associated with Chloe's bite history in the UC Davis DNA testing? Why is that in there?
Because we sit that in a Dropbox. We sit everything in a Dropbox, and I assumed that she reviewed it. She must not have seen it or opened it or reviewed it. I didn't know. But that's what was sent to her. Everything that's in the disclosure is what was sent to her.
All right. If she's permitted to testify, you led her through quite a bit today. You won't be able to. I mean, she struggled with to what degree of certainty she held an opinion. She struggled to what she viewed. She didn't write a report. I have to consider all of these things too, as the gatekeeper, as to whether she can actually assist the jury. So I'm not deciding this right here. Mr. Lally, if I do permit her to testify, I will give you time to absorb this testimony and to find an expert in rebuttal for this. How long might something like that take?
Not terribly long, Your Honor. As
this case ain't going to jury.
About 3 seconds.
I can't give an exact time frame on that. As far as a rebuttal witness, I'd say a week at the most.
A week from today?
Yes.
Why don't you start looking at least? All right, well, I decide I won't know until Thursday.
Sure.
All right. All right, anything else on this witness?
Submitted, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, next witness, please.
This was an incredible, stupid thing by the defense.
Yes.
She's going to be a catastrophe on the
This is a
stand.
different scenario. I'm presuming.
And it would delay the trial. It may delay the trial by a week.
Yes.
Well, I want to know who did what. I want to know, they say we. I want to know who did what.
So is the court suggesting that I go through their entire testimony of exactly what they did, their testing, their opinions, conclusions, the bases of their opinions, conclusions?
However you want to do it, Mr. Jackson, we're here today on the Commonwealth's motion.
I realize that, but it's not the Commonwealth's motion to depose our experts. The Commonwealth's motion is they're not qualified as accident reconstructionists. I don't need to go, and I'm not inclined to give them a free bite at the apple to cross-examine these witnesses twice on the basis of their opinion. I will go through, I think, to the court's satisfaction. I don't think it's going to take long to figure out that they're extraordinarily qualified to render opinions, but I don't think it's incumbent upon me to walk through their entire testimony and give the Commonwealth a free bite at the apple like it's a deposition.
Whatever you want to do. I'm not telling you what to do. Whatever you want to do.
Okay, before we get started with the new person, Rose, you're going to have to go back and watch. It was a defense expert who essentially approached the defense because she had previously had previous testimony or previous experience in dog bite history. She was a longtime subscriber to the Boston Globe. She says she only just recently saw this case, even though the dog bite stuff was out there in the Globe a year ago. That's when I saw it. So, when I was researching this case last year. She seems to be a super fan of sorts. She does not have history in anything really to do with this case. And when they stipulated that she had seen the dog bite patterns from Chloe, the dog that is alleged to have done the bites to John O'Keefe's arm, and she was given the DNA evidence, she did not look at either one of them. So she's stipulating that Chloe did these bites without even looking at Chloe or the way Chloe bites, because Chloe did bite someone in the past, and those were used, as I believe, as part of a lawsuit against them. So there's this whole history of that dog biting people, how the dog bites, how the injuries occurred on this other person, and I think that would be important to know before you go and say that the dog bit bit John O'Keefe.
A high degree of medical certainty, is how she put it.
Yeah. If she couldn't say if they were dog bites, they could be dog scratches at one point. So,
high degree of medical certainty, this dog did those injuries, even though there's no DNA to back that up, and it doesn't match the dog's bite pattern.
Yeah.
High degree.
It's just, she's a nice old lady. I can say that because I'm turning into a nice old man. But her expertise was from 1996 when she wrote a paper.
30 years ago.
Yeah. And she approached them. She's a looky-loo, essentially. And they didn't disclose it properly. The judge already said there's a Section 14 violation. They essentially didn't disclose this person in time. They heard about her on the 17th. They lied about how they came up with this witness. No, cat. Speaking of claw marks, I now have claw marks all over my lap from a cat jumping on my lap with her claws out. So, yeah. It's just so many things with this witness. You just have to go back and watch it at a later time.
You'll laugh hysterically. You will laugh hysterically.
I'm glad Hank's not feeling well, so I'm glad that Hank will get to see this when he's feeling better rather than being drugged through it. So yeah, he'll have quite the laugh at this whole last hour or so. But essentially, this is a looky-loo. This isn't someone serious. And I know we're biased because we've been pro-police through this whole thing.
Yes.
But even if I were on the defense, I'd have half a brain going, Grandma ain't gonna get her off the hook. That ain't gonna be good. So, yeah. Right now, we're getting 2 of the 3 witnesses that they were ordered to produce for this voir dire because they wrote a joint report on what could have happened at the crash scene. They say we throughout it, and that's what the judge wants to know. When you say we, who did the individual parts of this report if we're going to allow this report in, if we're going to allow this testimony in? The defense refuses to say who did what and what their qualifications are. So when Jackson was just bringing that up a second ago, Jackson doesn't want to state who did what or let people know what was going on with this report. He just wants it in, and he has never stipulated to these guys because these guys were called and produced by they produced the report for the FBI when the FBI was investigating the prosecution of this case on behalf of the Reed family, who used their connections to get that FBI investigation. So these are all people they have not been legally allowed to interview yet. All of these two folks we're seeing today. So anyway, as the cat's still trying to jump on me with her claws out. So this is fun. Talk about claw marks. I've got them now.
I'm not taking the T-bird away.
Yeah. So we'll get back into this. Just know that that's the background on these guys we're about to see. We're about, I'd say, let's see, right now we're about 9 minutes behind. At some point, we're assuming they're going to take a lunch break, and we'll do some drunk girl during that, because I'm sure that would be more sane than what we're watching play out in court today. So we're playing the video, and no, Parsons, I'm not playing with my kitty. So I don't have a kitty to play with. That's wrong, Parsons. Blessed be. And yes, look, Turtle Boy's in court. He's right there.
So we're going to be able to see the court the case down here and should the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll see you just very loudly into the microphone.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Daniel Wolfe, last name spelled W-O-L-F-E.
So what do you do for a living?
I am the director of accident reconstruction at a company known as ARCA, A-R-C-C-A.
And tell us a little bit about ARCA. If you could explain to the court what ARCA is and what its primary mission is.
So ARCA is a forensic consulting engineering company. We have a variety of disciplines that include biomechanics, failure analysis, human factors, premise liability, crashworthiness, and accident reconstruction.
You said that you were the current director of accident reconstruction, correct?
That is correct.
Is that a specialty of ARCA specifically?
Yes, sir.
And what sort of contracts does ARCA routinely engage in?
We typically work for law firms, insurance carriers.
What about other clientele? For instance, maybe it's an insurance carrier or a law firm, but what about the ultimate client, the military, Department of Defense? Have you contracted with other entities or agencies, sporting agencies?
Certainly, yes. We've done research for the military. We do player safety for the NHL. So yes, we are involved in a number of research projects as well.
And in terms of ARCA and its commissions and consultation, is it known both nationally and internationally? Is it recognized as a leader in the area of accident reconstruction?
Yes.
As the director of accident reconstruction, do you specialize in not only accident reconstruction, but human factors as well?
Yes, sir.
Can you give me a synopsis of the professional discipline of accident reconstruction? What is accident reconstruction?
Well, I think that's a very broad topic. I look at the cases that come across my desk. You know, I've been involved with pedestrian impacts, and that could be pedestrians hitting the side of vehicles, fronts, backs, getting run over by vehicles, being struck by a vehicle, then projected into another vehicle. I've dealt with your simple fender bender collisions. I've dealt with collisions that involve 60-car pileups on a highway. So again, accident reconstruction in terms of the scope for a case, it can really vary case to case depending on the facts and circumstances of that case.
And when you say dealt with, are you talking about literally going into, from an engineering and a scientific standpoint, trying to reconstruct what happened, what the causal effects were of that accident, and what the results were, the resultant damage or injuries were?
Absolutely.
What about human factors? What does that discipline entail? What is human factors?
Well, to give you an example of that, so I do a lot of nighttime visibility work where, for instance, let's say a pedestrian's coming out onto the roadway at night. Maybe it's not a lit roadway and you're relying on your vehicle headlights to illuminate that pedestrian. So it's determining when would a driver recognize that individual on the roadway based upon the headlights, if there is any artificial lighting, their clothing, And then we look at how do drivers respond based upon that scenario that they're presented with. So we know that response times are different depending on the hazard that's presented to them. So if it's a pedestrian coming to the roadway, it's a vehicle stopping in front of you. So that's the application of human factors.
And that might include everything from passenger vehicles, commercial vehicles, bicycle issues, motorcycle issues, things of that nature.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What education, training, and background qualifies you to perform the duties that you just described as Director of Accident Reconstruction at ARCA?
In terms of my educational background, I received a Bachelor of Science in Engineering from James Madison University back in 2012, along with a minor in mathematics. Some of my coursework while at James Madison included courses in physics, statics, dynamics, kinematics, material science, and your typical engineering sciences. Subsequent to my undergraduate degree, I then went on to the University of Delaware to pursue my PhD in electrical and computer engineering with a concentration in electromagnetics and photonics.
Did your research area also include physics, in addition to electromagnetics?
Yes, sir.
Optics?
Yes, sir.
Photonics?
Yes, sir.
And lighting?
Correct.
Are you accredited as a traffic accident reconstructionist?
Yes, sir.
By whom?
By an organization known as ACTAR, which is the Accreditation Commission for Traffic Accident Reconstructionists.
Are you trained in photogrammetry to determine vehicle crash and map scene evidence from photographs?
Yes, sir.
In other words, looking at a photograph rather than being at the scene, that is a specialty or a specific area of training that you've engaged, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you trained in Bosch crash data retrieval analysis?
Yes, sir.
Otherwise known as CDR analysis, right?
Correct.
In terms of professional associations and accreditations, are you certified by the Society of Automotive Engineers?
Yes, I'm a member of that organization.
What about being a member of Optical Society of America?
Yes, sir.
Illuminating Engineering Society?
Yes, sir.
And finally, the National Association of Professional Accident Reconstruction Specialists?
Yes, sir.
You're accredited by all of those organizations, is that right?
I'm a member of all of those, yes, sir.
Have you authored peer-reviewed articles in the area that we've just discussed?
I've authored a number of papers in the field of physics, and one of my most recent publications was that dealing with Toyota and Lexus vehicle control history records.
In 2021, did you author or co-author a peer-reviewed article known as Collision, the International Compendium for Crash Research Dealing with Vehicle Control History and Braking Issues?
Yes, sir.
Have you qualified in other courts to testify as an expert in the area of accident reconstruction?
Yes, sir.
Importantly, were you hired by the defense in this case?
No, sir.
Before this morning, when you walked into court, have you and I ever met face to face?
No, sir.
In terms of the commission that you were asked to undertake in this case, that have anything to do with the defense?
No, sir.
That have anything to do with the Commonwealth?
No, sir.
So a third-party agency hired you and commissioned you, or ARCA, with the responsibility of doing an accident reconstruction in this case, correct?
Correct.
The person to my left, the female to my left sitting here, you ever seen her before?
Nope.
Do you know who she is?
Yes.
How many times have you been qualified in other courts to testify as an expert in the area of accident reconstruction?
I think that's around 20 times to date.
In both federal and state court?
Just state court.
Multiple states?
Yes, sir.
Your analysis, conclusions, and opinions are completely independent, whatever they are. Those analysis, conclusions, and opinions in this case are completely independent of the defense and of the Commonwealth. Have I got that right?
It's based on the evidence. That's correct.
And you're not paid by either side here in this courtroom?
Correct.
You and your team were asked to undertake a review for purposes of accident reconstruction of the case that's now pending before the court. Is that right?
That's correct.
Who at ARCA was assigned to the team who ultimately would undertake that analysis?
So it was myself, Dr. Andrew Rentschler, and Scott Klein.
And Scott Klein has a Master of Science, is that right?
I believe he's got a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, yes.
In engineering?
Correct.
All right. And Dr. Rentschler is a PhD in what area?
Biomechanical engineering.
Were you provided and did you review certain materials in furtherance of your consultation in this matter?
Yes, sir.
Can I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'd like to use my time efficiently, Doctor. I'm going to read through a number of materials that you reviewed. Before I do that, may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I just want you to take a look at the first 2 pages of that document and tell me if you recognize that.
Yes, sir.
What is that? What are those 2 pages?
These are the first 2 pages from the report that ARCA issued in regards to this matter.
Do you see a list of 14 items on those 2 pages?
Yes, sir.
Is that an accurate reflection of the items that you were provided by this other agency to review in terms of coming to your opinions and conclusions concerning this case?
Yes, sir.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Those items include the Norfolk SPDU homicide death report, correct?
Correct.
The Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of State Police crime scene report, correct?
Correct.
The OCME dispatch removal report, correct?
Correct.
Photographs of the incident location.
Correct.
Videos of the incident location.
Correct.
Photographs of the 2021 Lexus LX 570.
Correct.
Photographs of recovered evidence.
Correct.
Crash data retrieval report from the 2021 Lexus 570.
Correct.
Report of autopsy.
Correct.
Autopsy photographs.
Yes.
3-dimensional laser scan data of a Lexus LX 570.
Yes.
A VIN-Link, VIN capital LINK report sheet for the 2021 Lexus LX 570.
Yes.
Expert AutoStats data sheets for a 2021 Lexus LX 570.
Yes.
And publicly available literature, including but not limited to the documents cited within the report, learned treatises, textbooks, and scientific standards, correct?
Correct.
All of those items and data were reviewed by you and your team in coming to your conclusions and opinions in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'd like to ask you one other series of questions concerning sort of who did what. Your report indicates that there were, in no small part, 2 undertakings, if I can ask them in terms of pillars: the damage to the vehicle and the injuries to the body of John O'Keefe, correct?
I would say that's a fair characterization, yes.
Okay. And I may be butchering this a bit because I'm not being very scientific, but were you more responsible for the vehicle damage or the injury damage?
The vehicle damage.
And who on your team was more responsible for the injury damage?
That would be Dr. Andrew Rentschler.
Obviously, Dr. Wolf, in coming to your opinions and conclusions concerning the damage to the vehicle, you had to consider the damage to the human being, correct, John O'Keefe?
Correct.
And as the team leader, in terms of Dr. Rentschler coming to his conclusions and opinions concerning the damage to the human being, he also had to consider the damage to the vehicle and the interplay of the 2, correct?
Correct. We work together.
I was just going to say, is that how you two and Mr. Klein worked together to come to the opinions and conclusions that are cited in your multi-page report?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Lally?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Now, you went through a list of about 14 things that are contained within your report that your firm or your agency was provided with that you reviewed, correct?
That is correct.
Specifically review all 14 of those things, or was that done as sort of a team?
Yes, I looked through all of the documents.
You personally looked at all 14 of those items that are listed within the report?
Yes, sir.
And you indicated that it was your opinions or what you did in this case, that was you were asked to answer specific questions, correct?
Yes.
It wasn't like you were just tasked with, hey, here's some facts, go do or take a look at a crash reconstruction or read a crash reconstruction. You were asked very specific questions and you tried to answer them the best you could, correct?
I don't know that there were specific questions. I think ultimately it was an open-ended question.
But related to two, you testified as to two specific areas that your firm and your agency looked at, right?
Those are the disciplines that the report covers, yes.
Well, you testified about some other areas of expertise as far as human factors, visibility, luminescence, things like that. You didn't do any of those things here, correct?
Wasn't part of my scope in this case.
And the scope in your case, you indicate that it was based on the evidence, correct?
That is correct.
Now, to be fair, that's based on the evidence that you were provided, correct?
Correct.
So what did Mr. Klein do?
So as a part of the engagement with the entity that ultimately retained us in this, due to the confidentiality of it, only those who had access to the material to the file were allowed to review it and discuss it. And essentially, Scott Klein served as kind of another reconstruction expert to essentially bounce ideas off of and help with the review.
So for lack of a better term, sort of provided, let's say, sort of technical review of your work and Dr. Rentschler's work, is that correct?
I would say assist us with the analysis, yes.
Now, obviously, your firm or your agency issued a report in relation to what you did, correct?
That's correct.
And you've obviously had a time to review that report as far as what's contained in there factually, as well as conclusions and opinions, things of that nature.
Yes.
So is it your testimony that anything that has to
Stereo, just to point out, the defense had nothing to do with these next couple of witnesses. These were by the federal investigation. The defense has not communicated or interviewed these witnesses via law. They were not permitted to interview these witnesses at all until this point for voir dire. That is why they're saying they were not, their expertises were not given before this time. So defense has nothing to do with what this guy was provided. He was provided this by the feds, who are looking into a possible improper prosecution of Karen Reed.
do with anything factually, conclusions, opinions, or otherwise in relation to the motor vehicle damage? Those are your opinions, those are your conclusions, correct?
I would say that's fair, yes.
And again, based on the evidence that you will provide, correct?
Correct.
And so the...
Yes, Sirio. The Reed family have connections within the FBI. Karen Reed has a personal connection to the FBI person who was in charge of this investigation. So, yeah, the feds didn't indict anyone, yet they closed the case without giving an opinion, because it came out that all of these connections had happened between them, the Reed family, and outstanding, well, let's say, disagreements, criticisms of the DA in this particular case. So the FBI was biased, essentially, had a bias of their own. And Mike Bangs, I can't answer that. I don't honestly know.
Facts or evidence or conclusions or opinions related to injuries to Mr. O'Keefe, that was Dr. or Mr. Rentschler's area, is that fair to say?
Dr. Rentschler, yes.
And again, that was based on the evidence or whatever he was providing, correct?
Correct.
Which would be the same materials that you had testified that you had reviewed, correct?
Correct.
I have nothing.
Anything further, Mr. Jackson? All right, so, Doctor, I just have one question for you. What specifically were you asked to do?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't hear the court.
What specifically were you asked to do?
So the agency that retained us gave us a selected quantity of file material related to this case, and essentially left it as an open-ended question. Ultimately, was the evidence consistent with a pedestrian interaction between Mr. John O'Keefe and the Lexus?
Okay, you said selected quantity of information. Who selected that information?
As far as I'm concerned, it would be the Department of Justice and the FBI.
All right, and they just gave you what they wanted to give you as far as you know?
We had no say in what material was handed over to us.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Any questions based on my questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Lally?
Just briefly. And I apologize for this. I'm just unaware. Is it Mr. Wolf or Dr. Wolf?
Dr. Wolf is fine.
So, Dr. Wolf, when you say that you were asked specifically whether or not the evidence, the limited scope that you were provided was consistent with a pedestrian collision, were you asked sort of in general terms as far as any type of pedestrian collision, or were you asked specifically as far as biomechanically could say the injury to the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head have been caused by contact with the vehicle? How open-ended was this question?
Again, I think it relates to, is the vehicle damage consistent with the pedestrian impact, and are the injuries consistent with the pedestrian impact?
And again, the whole panoply of injuries, is that correct?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Let me rephrase. So did anybody specifically ask you to determine whether or not the injuries to the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head could have been caused by a motor vehicle?
I don't know that they asked us specifically. Again, they basically asked us to perform an accident reconstruction and biomechanical analysis and basically tell them our findings, and these are our findings.
And in the materials that you reviewed, did you see anything in there of any sort of statement, suggestion, intimation, anything at all that suggested that the injuries or the fracture to the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head was caused by a motor vehicle?
In terms of direct contact?
Yes.
No, I don't believe so.
Nothing further.
Anything?
Nothing.
All right, Dr. Wolf, you are all set, sir.
Thank you.
If they're going this fast, we'll be getting out of here early.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you to be mindful of the court and step up. You're going to remain standing.
You solemnly swear to the give the court in the case now and hear the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Hey, Karen. Welcome.
Gotcha.
Hey, Karen.
All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Certainly. Dr. Andrew John Rentschler, R-E-N-T-S-C-H-L-E-R.
Sir, what do you do for a living?
I am a biomechanical engineer and accident reconstructionist.
In what area of the country do you live in?
I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
What is your title currently at your company?
I am a vice president and director of biomechanics for the Midwest Division.
And what is the name of that company?
It's called ARCA LLC.
And what is the
Abby,
main
just
mission
two, I
of
believe.
ARCA? What does
There were
ARCA
supposed
do?
to be three.
So ARCA is a engineering consulting company, and we have several different types of engineers, biomechanical engineers such as myself, accident reconstructionists, mechanical engineers. We look at crash worthiness, safety of vehicles, and other types of events. So we really do all types of work. We do litigation type work, as well as research and development for government and private entities as well.
I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Can you give me a brief synopsis of the professional discipline of injury causation biomechanics? What is that?
So injury causation biomechanics is really applying traditional engineering principles to the human body. So as a biomechanical engineer, I look at the response of the body to accelerations and forces and determine how an injury occurs.
Mrs. Tom, there are no sidebars today. The jury is not present. So this is voir dire. So this is what these people are going to testify to. And I would say later go back and watch the very first one. It was hilarious. It started about, I think, 40 minutes into the broadcast. So, yeah, that witness just, I have no words anymore. I need a nap and a drink, because if that's who they're going to put on, oh, God,
boy.
this is an SNL skit. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh boy.
You know, an injury to the human body is just an engineering problem. For instance, a mechanical engineer might look at a piece of steel and you know the size of the steel and the shape of it. And if you apply a force in a certain direction, that steel will bend and eventually break. Well, we do the same thing, but we look at the human body. How much force do you have to apply, and how does that force have to be applied in what direction or manner to get a specific injury, whether it's a skull fracture, an intervertebral disc injury, a concussion. So we look at the response of the human body to different forces and accelerations in different types of settings. And ultimately, our hope is to help mitigate or prevent injuries, whether it's in a motor vehicle accident, sports setting, industrial setting, auto pedestrian impact, try and make products and environments safer for individuals.
And that's different from what medical doctors, correct?
It is, yes, sir.
Little boy walks into an ER with a
Just saying, it's weird that Turtle Boy has full bios on these guys, including their pictures, prepared as they go up, saying everything you need to know about his version of these guys. And especially this one, his picture's really, really old, because he looks nothing like this picture. Just saying.
a broken arm, the medical doctor wants to reset the arm and fix the arm, correct?
That's right, yes.
Abby, yes, the grandma.
Engineer want to learn about the broken arm.
We want to learn how that break or that fracture occurs. I always say that we kind of approach injuries from two different directions. You have an injury occur. After it occurs, moving forward, that's when the medical doctors get involved. They diagnose the injury, determine the best way to treat it, what's the prognosis. As a biomechanical engineer, I kind of take the reverse direction. We look at, here's the injury, here's what's diagnosed. Well, how did that injury occur? You know, how much force do you have to apply to cause that fracture? How did the bone have to be loaded? How did it bend to actually cause a specific type of fracture? So we really kind of approach the injury from two different directions.
Understood. And given that scientific approach, oftentimes you can come to conclusions and opinions, scientific conclusions and opinions about the causation of an injury, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, ultimately, that's what biomechanical engineering is how does an injury occur? Why did it occur? And what type of setting did the injury actually occur? What type of loading and what type of kinematics do you need to have this injury actually occur?
Can you tell the court a brief synopsis on the discipline of human factors? What part does that play in what you do for a living?
Well, human factors is a large part of it as well. I mean, from biomechanical, we look at the body, we have to know anatomy, we have to know the makeup of the body, and then human factors plays a part of it as well as how individuals respond or what their response is to different types of environments or reactions. It really all plays into looking at a specific event. How did someone react? How did their body move? How was the body loaded? There's all different types of factors that you have to apply. The human factors, kinematics, kinetics, biomechanical, musculoskeletal interactions. It's all these different factors that are really involved in performing an analysis to ultimately look at injury causation.
Doctor, as the Director of Biomechanics and Human Factors at ARCA, what education, training, and background qualifies you to perform those duties?
Well, I got my Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering with a minor in Biomedical Engineering from Carnegie Mellon University in 1995. I then went on to get my Master's in Bioengineering and Biomechanics from the University of Pittsburgh in 2002. And then I got my PhD or my doctorate in bioengineering and biomechanics from the University of Pittsburgh in 2004.
Can you give us a brief work history up to and before ARCA?
Sure. So I got my PhD in 2004, and then since then I've worked in the consulting field for biomechanics. I've worked for a company out in Davis, California for a while called Biomechanical Engineering Accident Reconstruction. I then joined another engineering company in Jacksonville, Florida for about 3 years called Chesapeake Engineering and Design. And I have now been with ARCA for approximately 16 and a half years.
And in those positions and in your position currently as a director at ARCA, do you specialize in research and analysis attendant to evaluating and studying the relationships between crash injuries, crash forces, human kinematics, and human tolerances?
I do. I mean, that's really what I do on a daily basis, whether it be in litigation type cases or the research and development we do for different companies or entities, or even internal research that we perform at ARCA.
Doctor, what professional associations and accreditations do you have?
I'm a member of the American Society for Mechanical Engineers, as well as the Society for Automotive Engineering. Now, with respect to biomechanical engineering, there's no actual professional licensure for biomechanical engineering. So a PhD or a doctorate's the highest degree you can have in that field.
Are you also a reviewer for archives, physical medicine and rehabilitation and biomechanical engineering online?
I am, yes. Well, usually if you publish articles in a journal, usually that journal comes back to you and asks you to be a reviewer. So I certainly do that type of work as well.
I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about your ongoing education, your professional education after your PhD. Have you continued your education in areas of biomechanics and high impact injuries from the NTSB?
I have. I've taken classes through the NTSB and SAE, the IPTM, Police Technology Management Training Center. There's several different entities I've taken biomechanical and accident reconstruction courses through.
So the alphabet soup, if you will, of biomechanical engineering and human factors.
Right, yes.
And you continue that today?
I do, yes, sir.
Any specific training in human kinematics?
Yes, I do have training in human kinematics.
Just out of curiosity, how do you define what is kinematics?
So kinematics is the motion of the human body and looking at how the body moves. And it's irrelevant or irrespective of the forces that cause that motion. So we're really looking at for instance, how one body part moves with respect to the next. We can see how the body moves as a result of a specific type of event.
You mentioned injury mechanics previously in one of your answers. What is injury mechanics and how does that relate to biomechanics?
So again, that's a subset of biomechanics, looking at the response and the strength of the different parts of tissue of the human body. On a very basic level, to get an injury or have an injury occur, you need really two factors. You need enough force to cause injury to the tissue, and you need that force applied in the right manner. So if I wanted to fracture my elbow, I certainly couldn't take a hit on my shoulder and expect my elbow to fracture. Its force is exerted in the wrong location. And likewise, if I just lean my elbow on the counter here, that's not enough force. So you need the force and you need the application of that force in the correct manner to produce what we call an injury mechanism.
And have you ever participated in any studies or research in this area? In addition to your dissertation, getting your PhD, what about additional studies and research in this general area?
I have, yes, sir.
Can you describe that for us briefly?
Certainly. Well, just at ARCA, I've worked with the United States military. We worked on the design of the MRAP vehicles, the mine-resistant ambush protected vehicles over in Iraq and Afghanistan.
That's a troop carrier, correct?
That's correct, yes. And the issue there is they go over the IED, the improvised explosive device, and it blows the vehicle up off the ground. So you're getting very large forces and accelerations through the vehicle, through the seat, into the soldier's spines. So we're seeing very traumatic and severe spinal and head injuries. So at ARCA, we work on what we call an energy absorbing seat design. So when the vehicle gets blown off the ground, that seat is designed to absorb the force and the energy to protect the soldier's spine.
You know, it'd be a good question to ask this guy.
What?
Would an RPG stop a Humvee at going 70 miles an hour dead in its tracks?
Oh, good Lord. Good Lord.
Part in the design of that seat.
I did.
Sorry about that.
Yes, sir.
Has that been employed by the Department of Defense?
Yes, it has been.
And our troops be utilizing that new seat design, that safety seat design in that troop carrier to this day?
As far as I know, it's from what they'll tell us, yes, sir.
Understood. Are you also published in this field, Doctor?
I am, yes.
Can you give us a couple of examples of current studies that you're involved in or publications that you've done in the recent past concerning bioengineering and the impact or the association that it has with human factors?
Sure. I mean, and another project I'm working on is we work with the NHL actually at ARCA. We have an ongoing, we have an ongoing relationship with the Department of Player Safety. For instance, we helped redesign part of the rink in every arena. They had at the end of the player area, there was basically a 90-degree stanchion where the glass met. And so players were kind of getting checked down in the boards and then hitting up against the glass. And actually, somewhat ironically, it was Chara hitting Pacioretty into the glass, the Boston-Montreal game, and caused a cervical fracture and concussion. And the NHL came to us to see if we could have a redesign of the rink to make it a little safer. So we took crash test dummies, the anthropomorphic test device, which you've probably seen on TV, the automotive manufacturers use them all the time, and threw them into different configurations of glass. And now in every arena in the NHL, it is basically a curved piece of spring-loaded Lexan or plexiglass, where the players now, they hit into it, it absorbs the impact, and they glance off of the glass.
Is that a design that you helped come up with?
It is, yes.
So both from the United States military as well as professional sporting leagues, they've come to you to help save lives, lower risk.
That's right, mitigate and prevent injuries, yes, sir.
What about crash and sled testing?
Yeah, I've performed a number of crash and sled tests. When you look at any vehicle that's driven in the United States, it has to pass federal motor vehicle safety standards. There's federal regulations that they have to pass. And, part of that involves running the vehicle into a wall at 35 miles an hour, hitting it from behind, rollover type impacts. And they have these crash test dummies in those vehicles. So we perform a lot of testing for different cases and situations where we put that dummy in the vehicle and we evaluate the safety system, whether it's the lap and shoulder belt, or if it's the airbag or the seatbelt pretensioner, determine how to make the car safer. And part of that is looking at the force that's exerted on that dummy, because there's tolerance values. We know how much force it takes to cause specific injuries. So we want to make sure in certain instances, at certain speeds or impacts, that if someone's in an accident, the force acting on, say, their head or their neck or their chest is going to be below these established tolerance values.
Speaking of how much force it takes to cause an injury to a human body, have you engaged in any testing or published in the field of auto-pedestrian incidents?
Yes, I've been involved in a number of studies where we're looking at auto-pedestrian type impacts. Again, a lot of times we'll utilize the crash test dummy where we'll set it up and we'll actually have it struck by different vehicles or different objects to look at the response of the body. It's very important if you're talking about an auto-ped type impact, you have to know the configuration of the pedestrian, the vehicle, where they hit on the vehicle, whether it's a projection type impact, a wrap, a fender vault. It really all depends on how the person's positioned and the amount of force and speed involved in that type of an impact.
And staying with that for a second, that basic subject matter, have you also engaged in studies related to slips and falls where somebody might fall from a standing position and injure themselves, either to their head, shoulders, whatever, and those kinds of injury impacts?
I have, yes. And then one of the issues we look at it there is a lot of people fall, especially elderly people. So we want to look at what types of forces are being produced. You look at hip fractures, if you slip and fall backwards, head fractures. So we're trying to determine how to prevent those falls from happening and also create devices or products that can help actually prevent injuries if someone does take a fall.
Doctor, have you been retained as an expert in the area of biomechanical engineering and human factors in the past?
I have, yes, sir.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Can you take a look at that document and tell me if you recognize it?
This is a list of my deposition and trial testimony.
Your Honor, I provided that to the court this morning.
Yes, I appreciate it. I had a chance to look at it.
Okay. That's about I don't want to go through everything. That's about a 14-page document. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Let me just ask it this way. How many times do you think you've been qualified as an expert in the field or testified as an expert in the field of biomechanics, biomechanical engineering, and human factors?
I've testified probably over 150 times in numerous state, federal, civil, and criminal courts throughout the country.
Your Honor, move to, I'm sorry, may I approach?
Yes.
For the purposes of what here, Your Honor, I would ask that this document be marked.
Sure.
Thank you. Have you ever testified in criminal court as an expert in biomechanical engineering?
I have, yes.
How recently have you testified in criminal court?
Well, actually, I've testified twice. The end of May, I think May 31st, I testified in McKean County, Pennsylvania. For the prosecution, it was a case where the defendant was accused of beating his girlfriend to death and basically said that she fell down the steps. So my testimony involved determining how her injuries occurred and that they were entirely inconsistent with what would have happened during a stair fall.
What about another case?
And then about a week after that, around June 6th or 7th, I testified in Cambria County, Pennsylvania, again for the prosecution for another homicide case where the defendant was accused of essentially beating his wife to death and then said that she actually fell backwards and struck her head, caused a skull fracture on the side of the sink. So my testimony, again, pertained to looking at the injury mechanisms and determining that his story of her falling back and striking her head on the sink, it's inconsistent with the injuries and the type of force that would have been exerted in that case.
In both of those murder cases, you were hired or retained by the prosecution in the case, not by the defense, correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Your opinions in furtherance of the prosecution's case in chief, not the defense case in chief, correct?
That's correct, yes.
With regard to this case, you were asked to look at several items. We've already gone over those in the other testimony, so I won't belabor that. You were asked to look at several items, correct?
I was, yes.
And ultimately, based on that series of information, that universe of information that you were provided, see if you could come to an opinion and conclusion concerning the incident before the court now, correct?
That's right. See if I could determine what happened, how the injuries occurred, and the events leading up to and during that process.
Without going into your conclusions and opinions, were you able to come to conclusions and opinions to a reasonable degree of science and concerns?
I was, yes, sir.
You were not hired by the defense, by me, or anybody on the defense side in this case, correct?
That's correct. I was not.
You were not consulted with or hired by the Commonwealth either?
That's correct. I was not.
It was a completely independent agency, is that right?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Before this morning, have you and I ever met?
No, sir.
And you and I have never talked about the substance of your opinion and conclusion, correct?
We have not. That's correct.
You did reduce those opinions and conclusions in conjunction with your team to a report, is that right?
I did, yes, sir.
And your understanding is that report was made available both to the defense and the Commonwealth in this case, is that right?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
I have nothing further.
Okay, Mr. Lally?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good guess.
Just a few questions for you, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Now, with relation to your work in this instance, in this case, were there any limitations as far as confidentiality or anything that were put on you or any of your team?
What do you mean by confidentiality?
As far as who, what, where, and how you could discuss what you did?
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly we just discussed with who we were retained by in this case. I don't believe I discussed the case with anybody else except for my cohorts who were also involved in the case.
And so my question, sir, more is geared towards, at some point you were made aware that your report and your findings were made available to both the prosecution and the defense in this case, correct?
I was made aware of that, yes, sir.
And when you were made aware of that, was there any limitations on given to you as far as who you could discuss your report, your findings, or anything with?
Yeah, basically given the direction or the request that I don't actually discuss the substance of my opinions or my report with anybody aside from who we were originally retained to work for.
Now, may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sir, I am going to show you the first couple pages of your report, specifically right down the bottom. There's a list of items 1 through 14. I asked you to do those.
Okay.
Now, is that the totality of information that you and your firm were provided with in reference to what you did in this case?
I believe it was, yes, sir.
So nothing beyond that list of 14 things did you have occasion to look at, review, or have any opportunity to see at any time?
Well, aside from we did do testing in this case, so we did do other
Aside
work.
from your independent testing, I'm asking as far as material provided by whoever employed you, that is a sum and total of what you
While he's
received,
getting
correct?
testy
I
for the
believe that
first
would be
time
correct,
ever.
yes, sir.
And did you personally review each of those 14 items? Because, and I don't fault you or your company for this, but within the report, there's a lot of we. So what I'm asking is, did you personally review each of those 14 items that are listed in that report?
I did personally review every bit and every page of information that was provided in this case, yes, sir.
And to be clear, just to sort of close the loop on this, when it comes to those 14 items, were you allowed to ask for any additional items, or was it just you were limited to this is what you have, go form an opinion?
There may have been discussion about if there's other information available, but I believe ultimately that we rendered our
no
opinions
ruling
obviously
so
just
far.
on this specific information that was provided to us.
Now, as far as your opinion in your report, when was that issued?
February 12th of 2024.
So that date on the top of the report of February 12th, 2024, that's when you sent the report to the people that contracted you to do the analysis in the first place.
That's correct, yes, sir.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Now, am I correct? And what I'm trying to ascertain here, Doctor, is just sort of the different roles that you and the other members of your team performed in reference to this. Am I correct in that your primary role in this pertained to the sort of biomechanical engineering analysis of injuries sustained by Mr. O'Keefe?
That would be correct, yes, sir.
And not to put too fine a point on it, but Dr. Wolf would have been more responsible for issues related to the vehicle itself.
Generally speaking, yes, that would be correct.
Obviously, there's some interaction between damage to the vehicle and injuries to Mr. O'Keefe, but as far as your primary sort of any opinions contained within this report pertaining to injuries to Mr. O'Keefe, those would be your opinions, correct?
Yes, any opinions or information with respect to the injuries would be my purview and my opinions in this matter, yes, sir.
And concomitantly, so any opinions related to damage to the motor vehicle, those would be opinions of Dr. Wolf, is that right?
Well, to some extent, I mean, certainly I would have opinions as well based on the interaction or alleged interaction between the body and, for instance, the vehicle in this case, and what damage to both the body as well as the vehicle you would expect. So I think there's basically some overlap between those issues. I wouldn't say that it's a complete separation.
And so, and again, Doctor, what your opinions or ultimate conclusions are, whether they be yours or Dr. Wolf's or a combination of the two, it's all limited based on the information and the evidence that you received, correct?
It certainly is based on the information that we reviewed and listed in our report. Yes, sir.
Now, as far as for the mandate or from the agency that hired you, were you asked to answer a specific question, or were you asked to just do an analysis based on what we sent you, or how was that put to you as far as what you were doing?
There was a specific request that we were asked to perform and to evaluate in this case.
And specifically what I'm asking, sir, is there's an analysis in there of whether or not the injuries to the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head could have been caused from contact with the vehicle, correct?
That is part of my analysis and opinions, yes, sir.
And were you specifically asked to address or answer that question by the agency that hired you?
That was one of the questions I was specifically asked, yes, sir.
I have nothing further.
Anything further, Mr. Jackson?
Thank you, Donna. Thank you.
All right, so Doctor, I have a couple of questions for you, sir. So regarding this specific request, what were you tasked to do specifically?
So specifically overall, I was tasked from the biomechanical standpoint to determine or see if it's possible to determine how the injuries in this case occurred. And part of that was determine whether the injuries, the head injury and the arm injuries resulted from contact with the Lexus in this case.
Okay. And regarding all of your prior testimony, a good deal of it seems to be in depositions. Any of those in Massachusetts?
There's a couple, I believe. I've testified at trial in Massachusetts,
Okay.
Middlesex Superior Court.
Do you know where that might be? I do want to look at that.
I can find it for you, maybe a couple of months ago.
Was it in a criminal case or a civil case?
Oh, it was in civil case. I think, let's see here. I think, yeah. So let's see. There was one November 14th, 15th, 2023, Middlesex Superior Court. That was probably the most recent one.
Okay, what number is that on there if I want to go back and look at it?
That is number 310.
Thank you. Is there another Massachusetts case?
Oh, I'm sure there are because I know there's some from earlier in my career. Let me see. See if I can find them for you real quickly here.
Back in the aughts, I testified in Boston at a mob trial.
Yes. So there's Connecticut. Those with Louisiana. Oh, there's 68. I'm gonna butcher it. Worcester.
Is that a civil or criminal case, Doctor?
That is a civil case as well.
Okay. What year was that?
Oh, that one was 2012.
Okay. Any others that you think of or you see?
There may have been a couple others. I don't recall off the top.
All right, I'll go through it more closely. I
Sure.
appreciate you saving me.
Absolutely.
All right, any questions based on my questions?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
No. All right, you are all set, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Lally, I will hear you on your motion. Now, we didn't get into the ultimate opinions and the basis for that opinion, but I'll hear you on your motion.
Your Honor, what essentially what Commonwealth was seeking and had been seeking was just in reference to that, as far as who did what and who was responsible for what and what were the items reviewed, and is that the totality of it? There's a date on the report. I don't know if that was a date as far as when it was filed, when it was opinion was rendered, when that was provided, what was provided to them in the course of their analysis. So I think very simply what the Commonwealth had been seeking for the most part was covered today.
Okay. All right, I have some questions as to the scope of the testimony of the witnesses. So, Mr. Jackson, you intend to have them testify consistently with the report, everything covered in the report?
Correct.
And the conclusions, all four conclusions in the report?
Correct.
All right, Mr. Lally, what's your take on this?
I do have an issue with number 4. I don't think they're qualified to testify to. I don't think either of them is qualified to testify to that. That's more of an area of forensic pathology.
What do you say to that, Mr. Jackson?
4 is, their opinion is there is currently insufficient evidence to determine the cause of Mr. O'Keefe's skull or brain injuries or the circumstances surrounding the event. That is well within the scope of their expertise. Obviously, I don't think I have to beat this dead horse. They are highly, highly qualified to review all 4 opinions. And if the evidence in their opinion, their expert opinion, to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, which is what's evidenced here by the report, is that there is insufficient evidence to determine the cause of Mr. O'Keefe's injuries, then that is an opinion that they are well within it's well within the scope of what they can testify to. That's their opinion, that's their conclusion. Mr. Lally is going to have an expert, Trooper Paul, who's going to differ, or who has differed in that opinion. So be it.
And I would have kept it out. Remember, I would have kept out any medical part had there been an objection. And when you objected, I sustained the objection.
I think we're talking about 2 different things, apples and oranges. That's not, Trooper Paul's opinion is that his injury or his injuries, or I think he said variously that it was blunt force, could have come from the curb, or it was blunt force because the road was blunt. That was his opinion, and he was sticking to it. This is contrary to that. Both of these individuals have come to the conclusion and opinion that the evidence is insufficient to support that determination, and it's well within their purview to testify to that.
Your Honor, if I may, I don't think that's her actual opinion. I initially didn't think of it in these terms as it's phrased on the cover page of the report. If you look at the actual opinion
I
and
was looking at
findings,
the last page. Are they the same on the front and the back?
I think the front is a little more definitive and concerning. The back, I think, more as to it's consistent with a whole multitude of different things. So the fact that I don't really think that's an opinion at all, to be honest with you.
All right, I'll take a look at this more closely, give you a decision Thursday. All right, I did not expect it to go this quickly. We could have had the jury here, but I'm sure you all could use the afternoon to prepare. All right, Mr. Lally, let me know Thursday if you need, are you ready to go forward at least with your case on Thursday?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Let me know Thursday if you need additional time. If I let these witnesses, if I let Dr. Russell testify, how that impacts our schedule.
Absolutely.
Okay? All right, but I don't want that to be a concern of yours, how it impacts the schedule. That's my concern. I just need to know. All right, so anything else?
For the Commonwealth.
I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you Thursday morning.
Court will rise.
Okay, folks. Well, that's that for court today. We do have a couple of things going on. Today we are off for the rest of the day.
Yay!
I do have the nightly newscast at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. where it counts, 4:30 p.m. Mountain, and 3:30 p.m. on the West Coast. Tomorrow we are off as far as the trial goes. The newscast is still on. Tomorrow night we will have a panel show. Thursday is a full day of testimony, so our Thursday panel is canceled because we're going to just be too tired and grumpy.
Well, we're gonna do the Thursday. We're gonna do the Thursday panel on Wednesday.
Yes, essentially. The proposal I'm proposing is since Friday is a half day in court, unless something changes, we could do either a torture gym session where I'll do strange things for tips, or, well, nothing too strange because we still want to keep our YouTube channel. Either in the clown suit, probably not out of the clown suit because, yeah, I'm not putting my face on here while I'm doing insane things. Yeah. Yeah, or there's another couple of proposals. If you have the other proposals, Dax, just throw it in the comments there. I do have a poll set up if you want to do that, and we do it as an event probably Friday night, 8 o'clock-ish Eastern time. So
well, we have the poop scoop. We have the poop scoop on Friday.
Oh, sorry. Probably between the poop scoop, and in fact, maybe we can host it on the poop scoop. Why don't we talk about that later?
Okay.
A torture gym day on the Poop Scoop? I think that would bring Mark some ratings.
Oh, I might.
Yeah. So, and yeah, we'll see about that. I mean, the tips would have to come through PayPal or Cash App, but we'll see. We could even run the Poop Scoop here if need be, but because I have the tip set up here.
Okay.
But in any case, talk with them. Let's see what we want to do. It'll be a good way to have some fun at the end of the week. And you could probably torture me to death in the process. So go to the poll. It's on our community page. Also scroll up at, I think, exactly noon. I put it up here. And let us know. It should be some fun. And yes, minimum is $1 to get me to do something for a minute or two. I think minimum should be like $2 or $3 since I'm dying for you guys. Possibly.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway.
For our amusement. For our
I
amusement.
do have bills to pay. So, yes. So, that's for possibly Friday night. Please vote in the poll. And I could probably come up with a different costume. I'm just not sticking my face on here if I'm singing. Because that's scary.
Okay, but no creepy clown mask.
Oh, creepy clown mask for sure.
Oh,
not the latex one, the one that I can actually wear. Yes,
okay.
That'll be for sure.
Okay.
Yes. So go hit the poll, and we're taking the day off. And everyone wish Hank to get better because he wasn't feeling well this morning. Also hope Rose to feel better because she wasn't feeling good. There's something going around because my throat's foggy, but I've got to go read the news for tonight so I can go get a nap. Anyway, That's it from us. Let's go to the closing credits, and then Phil and I will talk over each other until I figure out how to hit the end button.
I told you, Hank, you shouldn't do that so much.
The mask, I gotta wear the mask. I'm addicted to the mask.
It's creepy as all get out.
I can paint a new one that's all smiley faces.
And blood.
And dripping with all the red paint. Yeah, I could.
Yeah.
I can make one special for you, Coconut. A clown mask. I could wear the pumpkin mask, too.
Maybe we could exercise your demons live on air.
You'll go on now.
Feel the healing power of the divine spirit pulsing through your body.
And now for something completely the same as we did last time.
Wait for the organ. Gotta wait for the organ.
Yeah, the organ's here. The organ. There's the organ. I like the organ. Not my organ, but that organ.
Gotta wait for Verbo, whose butt does not look big in those pants.
Well, that was Turtle Boy. That's a whole series of Turtle Boy in jail.
Oh, yeah. No, you know.
That's a whole series of...
We're
Wait, we're talking over each
silly
other.
stuff, yes, talking over each other.